Well, hello everyone. It's the Drinker here, and we're doing happy hour number 47. I keep having to look it up because I always forget which number we're on. But yeah, today we are going to be doing the Tomb Raider franchise. So the games, the movies, the Lucasade commercial, everything, man. And yeah, who better to do this thing than probably the biggest Tomb Raider fan on the planet? It's Melonie Mac. Thank you for joining me for this.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it should be good. I mean, yeah, I was saying to you earlier, I couldn't really decide what to do for this happy hour. I wasn't sure who to bring in or whatever. And I thought I'll put it to the people of Twitter. And one of the names that kept coming up was yours. And I thought, yeah, I've never had Melanie on before. Let's bring her on and see what she wants to do. And then you suggested Tomb Raider. And I just thought, perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking for a minute there because, a lot of my followers kind of make fun of me because I'm terrible with pop culture in general and movies and stuff like that. I'm just, and I thought, wait a minute, I can talk about Tomb Raider for days. So I'm good with this topic.
No, it should be perfect. I mean, yeah, I got started with Tomb Raider way back in the mid-90s with the very first one. Yeah, that was the game of high school for me for the first couple of years. And I did a review of it, a couple of years back, just comparing it to what we have now with the Tomb Raider games. And really kind of reflecting on how they got a lot of the balance right for me. That very first game, just that balance of exploration, problem solving, and it was fairly light on combat, but it felt meaningful when it did happen. I think you only fought 3 or 4 actual people in the course of the game. It was just animals that you shot at and stuff. And I really liked Lara's personality in that first game. I think they just nailed it. She was kind of quirky and funny. She didn't take things too seriously.
Yeah.
And it was just a great character to go on an adventure like that with.
Right. And that's the thing is I say that nothing is perfect in this universe except for Jesus and Tomb Raider 1.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider 1, I'm a big classic fan. So all the classics in general, for the most part, Angel of Darkness is just obviously when it started falling off. But especially the first 4 games, I just feel like were phenomenal. And the first one is just flawless. It's perfect. I can find problems in any of the other ones, but the first one, I just feel just like everything you said, that perfect balance between the exploration, the puzzles. And the thing is too that I really liked about the puzzles is they made sense, and the pacing and everything just made sense, and it flowed so perfectly. The atmosphere. And here's the thing too about modern games that I don't like is that they always got to have characters talking nonstop. Yeah. And the beauty of Tomb Raider, especially the older ones, not so much the new ones these days, but the older ones, was that you got to explore the game and feel like you're actually exploring these remote areas, and you got to enjoy the atmosphere and really get immersed into it because you didn't constantly have characters talking. You didn't have someone talking to Lara on a headset. You didn't have Lara talking to herself, telling you how to solve a puzzle. You were just dropped right in there, and you felt like you were actually Tomb Raiding.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were talking about the pacing there, that was something that really stuck with me in that, it starts off with a relatively slow pace. And I love how it gradually builds up the complexity of the levels in those early games. In that very first level, you're just in caves. You're making your way through caves, and there's not a huge amount to fight or to interact with. It just lets you soak up the atmosphere. And I love that feeling of isolation that you get. Like you say, there's no person giving Lara instructions over a radio or giving her pep talks. And her interactions with other people are fairly minimal throughout the game. But it feels really meaningful when it does happen. Like some of her banter with Larson is great.
Yes, it's hilarious. And I like that because, the thing about Lara, the old school Lara, is she was such a woman of action. She didn't have to be talking all the time to have a personality. And I feel like one thing that Uncharted kind of influenced with more modern Tomb Raider and stuff is it, and which is frustrating to me because Tomb Raider already had that perfect cookie cutter like direction to go. It already had the perfect everything, and it didn't need to copy Uncharted. And I feel like it took the things that I don't like about Uncharted, and it took those, and so now it feels more like a copy of that and not even as good. So I miss the old times. I miss Lara just being that woman of action. She still had times where she'd talk and make her little jokes or whatever. But she meant business and she did what she wanted to do.
Very much. Yeah, I again, it's one of those things I picked up on when I reviewed it. The fact that when you meet her in that first game, Lara's already kind of an established adventurer.
Yep.
You know, she's apparently been on other adventures and she's kind of world famous by that point. And she's got a real confidence about her because of that, which is great. And you don't necessarily know a huge amount about her backstory or her personal history, but I always saw her as being almost like James Bond. You kind of didn't want to know that much about who she really was underneath it. It's more like she's not an avatar for you, but like she's somewhat mysterious and,
right.
And got a bit of a mystique about her. And she's just the perfect person to be going on adventures like that. And I love the fact that, you know, when she gets offered all this money to go and retrieve the pieces of the Scion. I never know how to say it. Is it Scion?
It's Scion. It looks like it should be said Scion, but they say Scion. So
Scion, yeah. Yeah. And she's like, well, I only play for sport. So she's just doing it because it's fun for her.
I love that.
Yeah, because one of the other things that's they've changed is that like in the original games, Lara's rich as fuck. Like she's already got like a big mansion and stuff. She doesn't need more money. Whereas in the new ones, it's like they try to make her sort of she's like the daughter of an aristocratic family, but she's somehow poor at the same time, and she kind of needs cash. Like because I guess they tried to make her more relatable. And it's like, no, you don't need to do that. Just make her rich. Like she wasn't apologetic about that.
And here's the thing: is like when it comes to the original Lara and her backstory and stuff. Like if you play the games, like you said, there's a big mystery to her and stuff. But they still had lore. Like if you read in the manual and a lot of her backstory, and like a lot of us hardcore fans, like we know more about her past. There's still like a lot of mystery to her though, which is part of what makes her more fascinating. But the biggest thing, and I feel like one of the biggest issues that the community has, those of us who like played since the originals, is completely changing Lara's backstory and her motivations. Because this whole plot of following her dad's footsteps and all that is such a headache for a lot of the fans, and it didn't exist in the classics. In the classics, her parents disowned her because of her lifestyle. They wanted her to marry the Earl of Farrington and live this aristocratic life. And she didn't want that. She ended up like being in a plane crash, the only survivor. After that, like she just realized, hey, I don't want this life. I want a life of adventure. And her parents disowned her and she did what she wanted. And that was extremely empowering for the character. And so to change that, and honestly, the first movie is responsible for it. And as much as I love the first movie, that is one thing that I don't like about it, is that it started the whole follow in the dad footsteps thing. And it just feels so cliche, so American. Like it's just not Tomb Raider, and it completely took away a lot of Lara Croft's power. And when she went from I do what I want when I want, I don't care who has a problem with it, and she just had the biggest thrill out of it, to just following her dad's footsteps. I mean, it's just such a downgrade.
Yeah, it is one of these tropes of movies that you have to have the main character have daddy issues. Like the dad has to be some famous person that they're stuck under the shadow of, or they want to like, like you say, follow in their footsteps or find out what happened to them. And I think there was a simplicity to the original games where Lara was just like, I just don't give a fuck. Like I'm just doing my own thing in life. And that's perfect because it's a person who's chosen the life that they have. Not being forced into it. And again, she takes on the mission that's given to her. She doesn't have to do it. She could quite easily have said, "Nah, I'm going to sit this one out." But she chose to do it because it was fun and adventurous, and that's exactly the character that you want for this kind of game. And I think there was just something really just elegant and perfect about that design of character. I think it just worked. It worked brilliantly. And I just love the fact that they made her British as well.
Yes. I mean, I know the very act of making classic Lara was like an act of rebellion. Toby Gard was like, he's Lara Croft's creator, and so he got a lot of backlash for wanting to make a female lead in the game. They were like, "Oh, it's not going to sell," and all this kind of stuff. And then so he kind of wanted to do something rebellious and not only kind of defy that. By making the female lead, but he also wanted to make her British because it was always usually good guys are American, bad guys are British. And this time around, we got Lara Croft, who's British, and then Natla with the American accent. And like they just completely twisted things. And it was a rebellious act to even do. And I love that because Lara is such a rebellious, or was such a rebellious character. So it was just awesome. It was fun. And I feel like with nowadays, with especially female characters, is they're so scared to make them seen as perceived flawed in any way, whether that be selfish or, because classic Lara was very motivated by selfish ambition, and that's kind of why we love her. And and so for them to turn that around and kind of try to turn her into a hero, it just really goes against everything that she was originally created to be. And I feel like the changes are completely conforming to what is acceptable now. And it's frustrating when she was created as an act of rebellion, and then now she's just, okay, now she's that safe character that conforms to whatever's acceptable right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one thing I just want to bring up just before we go on, because I know I'll miss it otherwise. But yeah,
okay.
The music,
yes.
that theme tune from the original game, again, like they just nailed it. I wish I could play it now, but like it's a bit copyrighted or something.
Yeah, it's so good. That classic theme is just iconic.
Yeah, it just really, like, for, I guess the original game wasn't developed on a huge budget or anything, but like they just absolutely nailed that. All of the soundtrack from the original games was pretty solid. Like whenever you got into combat and the music ups in tempo, it's just nice and urgent and intense. Like it was perfect.
Oh yeah, and Tomb Raider 2, like when you get on a snowmobile and then it's just like that action music kicks in. Dun, 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 dun. It's like yes, or on Venice even with the boat and that like fancy music. It just it's so memorable, and I think that's one thing that is really telling is for most people when they think Tomb Raider, even people who aren't gamers, when they think Tomb Raider, they're still thinking of the Tomb Raider from 25 years ago, more so than I don't think that current Tomb Raider really is going to stand the test of time anywhere near what classic Tomb Raider has.
It's like the original, I guess, was kind of iconic. Like everything about Lara, like the hot pants, the tank top, the twin pistols, like, she's trekking through the Andes in Peru with hot pants on and a swimsuit. Basically, she don't give a fuck because she's Lara Croft.
I love that. Yeah. Exactly. And here's the thing that's so frustrating is when they act like, oh, she was nothing but an object and that she wasn't empowering because she dressed that way. I mean, she was so rebellious, and you even see that in the movie when they say, oh, a lady needs to wear this dress, is what her butler tells her, and then she's like, yeah, you're right, a lady does, and she throws her towel off like, but I ain't that, and she's just and that's the thing is back then with the original Tomb Raider, we had like this puritanical culture that was kind of being pushed on everybody, and And so Lara just being the way she was and being so powerful and being so rebellious and dressing the way she does and being completely unapologetic about it was a very rebellious thing. And so now we've got the whole puritanical narrative coming back but from a different direction this time. And unfortunately, we've seen our beloved rebellious Lara Croft conform, and it's sad.
It is, and not only have they changed her personality, so she's now this reluctant hero who's always getting dragged into things, and she doesn't want to do any of it, and she's always terrified of everything, and she's always crying and stuff, and it's like, oh fucking hell, lighten up.
Yes, it's exhausting.
Particularly after the third game, it's like, okay, I could get this in the first one because you've never done this before, and it's a new experience, so obviously it's going to be terrifying. But like when you've gotten to your third adventure, yeah, you should really start to get used to this by now, and you should be better at this shit.
Yeah,
she's like terrified and apologizing constantly while incidentally mowing down people by the dozen. Like you killed so many fucking people in those games.
It makes no sense. And a lot of people want to talk about how, like in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, she finally had some aggressive moments, and they were cool, like when she gets out of the water and stabs that guy. That was really cool. But what kills it is that right before that awesome scene happens, she's in the water and you hear her internal monologue, and she's like, oh, I'm just so scared, I'm gonna let everyone down. And then she gets up and does that, and it's like, that just kills everything. It just killed it all. And then in any moment where she has that fierce, where she has that fierce moment, then afterwards she'll break down and cry. Every time they build her up, they knock her back down again. And this is even said in developer interviews. It's just like, oh yeah, she keeps trying, but then she keeps getting knocked back down. Like that's supposed to be a good thing. And it's just like, when you take and I don't know, if this was a brand new character, that's fine. I actually see her as likable in a lot of ways. Like, she gets on my nerves with how dramatic she is, especially in Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I could live with it as a new character. But when you transform an iconically rebellious character and turn her into that, then it's just really messed up.
Yeah, it became boring really quickly.
Yep.
With the first rebooted game, I liked it. I thought brilliant. Like, there was times when I felt genuinely sorry for her. Like, there was times when she was injured and she's just you're kind of limping along with her, and she's just barely hanging on, and you think, damn, this girl's really been put through the mill in this game. And it makes sense because it's her first adventure and she doesn't know what she's doing. And I think it was good character building, and I think that game by itself would have been fine as an origin story. I mean, it totally rewrites everything in Lara's history, but whatever.
Right.
But yeah, like after that, I kind of wanted her to get more back into the groove of being Lara Croft again. And they teased it with the second game where she starts dual wielding the pistols right at the end. And it's, okay, it's a bit clumsy compared to the original games, but they're starting to do it. And then the third game, she's right back to where she's starting, just sad and scared again.
Well, and that just is telling to me that they know what the fans want, and they know they know how to do it. They just don't want to, but they still want the fans to keep buying the games, so they're gonna keep teasing things. And how many times we get those dual pistols teased at us instead of actually using them, and then getting the fans all excited just for, oh, okay, wait, here we go, here's more of the same old. And I almost feel like there was a regression, because in the original rebooted game, I almost feel like she had some more Lara-esque personality traits than she did in the ones following at times. Now, not always, but there were times where she had her little like witty comebacks to her friends and all that kind of stuff. Or at the end, she's like, I'm not going home. Like, from there on, it just seemed like, all right, she's on a mission now. She's going to be Lara Croft now. Okay, I can deal with this. I can deal with the change of the origin story and all that if she just becomes Lara Croft now. And then boom, right into Rise of the Tomb Raider, we see a more dramatic Lara Croft than we've ever seen. She just whined that entire game, man. It was like, oh my god. And the voice acting, I felt like they directed her to be so over dramatic. And you saw a little bit of a change with Shadow, because Shadow was made by Eidos Montreal mostly. Like Crystal Dynamics oversaw it, but they didn't have as much of a hand in it. And so I feel like Eidos really did try, and they also had a lot of their efforts, a lot more efforts that they'd made that they'd wanted to do that they had to change and stuff like that. So it's like the higher ups at Crystal Dynamics have sent a message that it seems like they're not really a big fan of classic Tomb Raider, and they're not letting go of the property, and they're not really giving us that much for those who want classic Tomb Raider back. But I am hopeful for the future with them talking about the unification discussions. I think that is going to be extremely hard to pull off for everybody, because now if they go more in the direction toward like the classic style, that would make a lot of us happy. Then all of the new fans that they just got on board are going to be not the happiest. And so now
have they really brought that many new fans on board with this, though? Or is it more just like people who love the classic series who are kind of tolerating it? Because it's like, well, it's Tomb Raider, I guess.
It's hard to tell if they're just extremely vocal or if there's actually a decent number of them, but I do think for the most part it's the former. There is a clique of the reboot fans, now not all of them, but there is a decent amount who are very aggressive about people criticizing the property. I mean, me just do this, I'm gonna get backlash on Twitter for saying what I've said today. I'm ready for it. They've like straight up they get aggressive. They've memed me saying they hope I get hit by a car and all kinds of very aggressive things just because I have criticisms of the reboot. So yeah.
Damn.
They have a clique. I don't think it's nearly as big as classic fans, or even when you think of the general population and general gamers. Most people just prefer classic Tomb Raider. It's just how it is. But they get real mad about it.
I mean, I approach it from the point of view that I was playing Tomb Raider before most of these pricks were born. So I've got fucking seniority here. That's the advantage of being older.
I love it. Like, sit down, respect your elders, kids.
Yeah. Like, sit down, son. I'll tell you what's what.
Yes.
Yeah, goddamn. Like, this is the thing, though. You know, if you weren't around back then, if you weren't playing these games back in the day, you'll not really appreciate what they meant and how landmark these games were. Like, you're going to see it from the perspective of hindsight because you've played the modern ones and you think, okay, I'll look at the old ones. And you'll just see the shit graphics and how primitive it was. And, you know, oh, look at Lara in her hot pants. Clearly she's been sexualized. You know, we can't have that now. We have to put her in a generic, like, jeans and vest combination, which is like what every freaking action hero ever wears now.
It's getting ridiculous. And what's discouraging to me is even with Perfect Dark getting a remake, and then the one concept art we see of Perfect Dark, she's wearing jeans and a leather jacket, and I'm like, of Joanna, I'm like, seriously, that approved outfit that female characters are allowed to wear, and they're all wearing them. And not only that, but now Crystal Dynamics apparently is helping make that. And I'm like, oh no, they already.
This is the thing, like when you're talking about like unifying this sort of Tomb Raider, you know, the two strands of it that they have going at the moment, the reboot and then kind of the originals. You're never going to see a new game with Lara in her classic outfit. Like, they will never do that at this point. I guarantee it. That would be too exploitative in their minds. But that's the way the character looked. You know, what can I say? Like, that's what made her iconic in the first place.
I know. And the thing is if they actually would do something ballsy like that, then that would bring Lara back in a rebellious place because she was created. And people who, those of us who are old enough to remember back then during those times, her character was very rebellious for the time.
Yeah.
And again, this is her chance to come back and be rebellious for the time because she's not approved right now. This would be the perfect time to do it. But who knows? Like they bring it back with like the merchandise, like the Weta statue you tweeted. They'll bring it back for stuff like that when they need to sell some merch or when they need to sell some a third party character appearance in another game. Then they'll go ahead and deliver that. But in her own games, we haven't seen that, and I don't know if we will. And then also, they are working on a Netflix series. And, I was really excited about it first. Haley Atwell is going to be voicing Lara, which sounds incredible. I think her voice would be perfect. But then you hear about the story, and basically what we know is she's going on road trip adventures with Jonah and Zip from Legend, and Jonah from the rebooted timelines. And it's like road trip adventures with friends. And that is just so not Lara Croft, who was created as this loner, rebellious character. She was notorious for not being much of a team player.
Yeah.
And now this.
Freaking road trips, man. The other thing I was going to point out, actually, I love how actually raiding tombs is now just like an optional side quest in the games. Like it's the fucking name. It's Tomb Raider. You're supposed to raid tombs.
Yeah, you would think. It's just like it feels like upside down world. I don't know what's going on with the series. I don't know. I mean, whenever the reboot first came out, it was like, oh, this is something different. This is fun. Okay. And I think at first a lot of us were cool with it. And then after it kind of lost the newness to it, it's like, wait a minute. Okay, I want Tomb Raider to be Tomb Raider again, please.
Yeah, I want it to be fun. I don't want Lara to be this sad sack that I have to drag around through the game.
And it's just the more they try to make her practical, the less memorable she is, because practical just simply isn't memorable at all.
Exactly. No, that's a really good point, actually. It brings to mind when they did the Resident Evil 3 remake, and you had Jill in the original game had this weird like blue boob tube thing on,
right?
It's the last thing you'd probably wear when you're fighting zombies, but it's what she wore, and it became like iconic for that game. And then again, they just gave her this really generic, like she's wearing jeans and she's got like combat stuff on around her waist. Right. She's got like just a standard vest thing on. And she was just such a boring character design by that point. It's like you've taken all the uniqueness out of her.
And her concept arts that they had were like really cool. And I don't know, man. And you'd think with them keeping it in the 90s, at least give her a 90s style outfit. That would at least be a little more memorable, but it's not. And I do think that I like her character design overall, her face and like I think she's very pretty and and I'm not opposed to that, but I think taking some of the iconic elements away, it definitely made her more forgettable. Like when I think of Jill Valentine, I don't think of the remake version at all.
Yeah. I never got the thing, because a lot of people were saying like, oh man, she looks really ugly in the new one. I was like, are you looking at a different character? Like, I don't get this.
Right. And that's the thing is I get their frustration, but I think they were just kind of taking it out on the character like that. They were just so mad at how different she is. And I can kind of relate to that, because now whenever I see people posting photo mode pictures of Reboot Lara and they make her smile, I think, oh, she's so ugly, but she's not. She's not. She's actually beautiful. But to me, I'm just so mad. I'm so mad at how much they changed her that it makes her ugly to me, if that makes sense.
I know they had a real challenge with it, because they had to create some kind of compromise between the Lara that you got in the classic games, which it is a pretty difficult figure to attain,
right?
And what a real person would look like. And so they've got I think particularly for the first Tomb Raider reboot, she looked pretty good.
Right.
She had like the real kind of hourglass figure. Mm-hmm. She was beautiful, all the rest of it. they seemed to alter her a little bit as the game progressed. I don't know what it was. It took me a while to put my finger on it, but they definitely changed her character model. I don't know if they just, I don't know, they made her sort of blockier or something. It was a difficult one to put my finger on.
They also put like a mop on her head. It looks like they gave her like this weird mop mullet thing, and her forehead is like this short, and it's like, what are they doing? What are they doing to her? And then with her, and what I don't understand is with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's like the developers made an attempt to give her like that muscular figure, but what they kind of did was just give her arms and then on this like straight up and down figure and call it a day. And it's like anybody who goes to the gym would not, like, that's not the physique she would have. It's like, okay, let's just paste some arms with some tone on it and then have her with a straight up and down figure. It's like, man, they're just so, I feel like if they would have taken like the original reboot model, if they wanted to give her some more muscle tone, give her those like strong classic thighs, and all that good stuff, they could have really had something here. But they're really scared about. It's like over time, even more so. They're scared about that curvy silhouette, which is really frustrating. And I feel bad for what kind of message that sends to curvy women when they're constantly being censored in games. That must be really hard for them, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get, like, obviously if you look at the older character designs for Lara, like they're not meant to be like realistic proportions of a real person. Like the waist is like 12 inches around, and, you know, huge bust and stuff. Like that's not the sort of thing you could have, but like that was the result of the graphical limitations of the time. Everything had to be exaggerated because it was the PlayStation 1. You had about 12 polygons to work with for each character model. And I get like why you would alter it when you're trying to make something more photorealistic. And I think they did a pretty good job, like I say, with the first reboot. But then, yeah, like you were mentioning there, as the games progressed, she became kind of like blocky across the middle and just kind of like straight up and down. They tried to give her a bit more muscle bulk, but then it just looked a bit weird in comparison to the rest of her. The thing that I shared on Twitter the other day, like that statue, which I really fucking want. If I've got like $1,500 kicking around on booze, I'll get it. But it's absolutely gorgeous. But they got Lara.
They did
perfect in that. Like she actually has, like, she's got muscle tone and stuff, but like still really kind of slender and elegant.
And the curvy, like, they did awesome with that. And I feel like that would translate extremely well in the newer games and things like that. And I think too, as a woman who playing these games, and I feel like they're so scared of making her threatening to women, but they don't understand that most of us, I find most of us women who play games, we like that exaggerated style even, and we like the curvy gorgeous characters. If you just play an MMO, you look at any girl wants to show you her character on an MMO, we try to make them as hot as possible. Like that's part of the power fantasy. And it's just a shame because they think they're doing this for women, but apart from, I feel like the most of the women who actually approve of that and want it aren't buying the games. Those of us who are buying the games, we want hot Lara Croft. We liked her.
Well, you know? It's the same with as a guy, if I'm playing a game, I wouldn't want to play as like some tubby, fat middle-aged man who looks like shit. You want to play as like a big muscular dude who can destroy everything that's put in his path, because that's the fantasy of gaming. It's just fun. I don't need to see myself. I don't need to see a pale, drunken Scottish guy represented on screen. You know, that's not why
Right.
you play games. You play games to escape reality, not to embrace it.
Exactly. And I keep trying to say that because it's just like, how boring is it to play a video game if you just want to play as yourself? I don't want to play as myself. And when I think about the rebooted Tomb Raider games, for example, and when I have my criticisms, people are like, well, wouldn't you cry in that situation? I'm like, yeah, I would, but I don't want to play as myself. That's boring. I get to live my life every day. I want to play.
If I played as myself, right, I'd fall off the first fucking cliff that I had to jump onto. I'd just like lose my balance and trip, and that's it. I'd be dead. So, like, yeah, I don't want to see myself represented in that game.
Same. That's how I feel. And for some reason, they're just not grasping this. And I feel like what social media has done, and especially Twitter, is that it's given this false illusion of there's like this very vocal minority that has given this false illusion that they are the majority, and they're not. And then you see usually when sales of specific properties kind of reflect that, and they're just like, oh, well, something might get a ton of retweets and quote tweets from people saying, yeah, this is what's up. But are they buying it? No, they're trying to appeal to people on Twitter instead of the actual people who are playing the games.
Yeah, it's always been like that. And yeah, the people that make the most noise get the most attention. But yeah, those people just live for social media to be annoyed about things. Like, they don't actually contribute anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a frustrating part of what we have to deal with, because if you then push back against it, you're labeled as like every
Yeah.
it under the sun, and it's just a shit situation to be in. It's like you can't have an open discourse about all these problems with
Yeah.
whether it's movies, games, whatever it is.
It's ridiculous. I've literally had the police called on me because of my opinions on Lara Croft.
What?
Yeah, it's like 2 years ago.
Police are on your ass.
I was just sharing about how I like classic Lara Croft better, all this stuff. Some ex-game developer, he was really salty about my takes, told me I was an internalized misogynist, all this stuff. I was just like disagreeing with him, showing him some stats and stuff, and like, okay, well, if Tomb Raider 1 was so, sexist and all that, then why was there a 40% female player base according to IDOS? And all that. Well, he got really upset about it. It kind of went viral. Our interaction did. And so what it caused was, how the internet is, a lot of people trolling on him because he kind of made a fool of himself. And because of that, yeah, he called the police. At the time I was hosting with GameStop TV, and he called them to try to get me fired. Then he called the police, and the police were like, we can't do anything about trolls on the internet.
Yeah, like we've got actual fucking crimes to try and
yeah. So it's like, yeah, you get a lot of hate for that kind of stuff. I'm at the point where for a while there, I felt like I couldn't even share an opinion about anything, even with Tomb Raider, because it's like, okay, am I got people try to cancel me today? Am I got people like say that I deserve to be run over by a car and this and that and the other? It's like,
just
gosh.
join the dark side like us, because honestly, like, it's so much easier here. Like, just being able to say whatever the fuck you want. There's so many more people who think this way than the other way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is I even started a brand new YouTube channel the other day called Melonie Mac Go Boom. I was like, this is my new, all right, I'm going boom now. I'm not gonna be quiet anymore, whatever. Some of my opinions, like, I might not get sponsors as much as I used to and all that, because I'm not as brand friendly for actually having an opinion now. But I was like, heck it, I'm gonna do it. And so I've been doing it, and it's been going really well. And I think that people like they that's the thing about, and my problem with the whole woke movement and all that is that it is so fake that there's people don't enjoy fake. And so now I'm finally not scared of the mob and all that kind of stuff, and I'm being open and a lot more than I was before. And yeah, I still got to deal with the haters but I don't care anymore. And it worked out for the good, because then other people enjoy watching me more because they're seeing some realness.
Yeah, that's ultimately that's why all of us do this, and that's why, you know, YouTube exists,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're I guess if you're saying what you think people want to hear, people are going to see through it really fucking quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to tune out. They're not going to be interested. That's why, you know, shit like G4 TV is just a failure,
Yeah.
because everyone knows like they've all died inside, and like they're just doing it for the money. It's like, yeah, fuck off. Nobody cares about your dinosaur program. But yeah, like just being able to sit here and give your actual honest opinion about things, even if you get some heat for it, you know, the majority of people will probably still agree with you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they want. That's what they'd rather see. Is just
Yeah.
you being honest.
And I'm discovering that now, and I had to just get to a point to where I just wouldn't let the mob scare me anymore. And what's unfortunate is that just having an opinion on Tomb Raider like that can cause the mob to want to ruin your life. It's like, oh, because I had criticisms about a game you want, now you're trying to ruin my life, and you're digging up stuff that I said on a forum at 17 years old, and I'm 35 now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, really calling my sponsors, trying to just ruin my life because I have a different opinion on Tomb Raider. It's like, what's going on?
Like, because you know, I'm not in the games industry or anything like that. Is this how it operates? So that like, if you want to get advertisers and if you want to be part of that industry, you have to toe the line.
Yeah,
with all this stuff.
Yeah, and that's a lot of stuff I've been covering on my new channel, because I'm kind of like trying to expose a little bit more of that. I'm not showing people's names and stuff, but it very much is like that. I've been mostly brand friendly most of my internet career, which has been like 12 years now. And, you know, I've played it safe and tried not to upset people. And there have been times where I've been more vocal, usually relating to Tomb Raider, and then they start to come after me. But then, especially if it comes to anything political, even if you don't follow an approved narrative, and then especially with me being a woman, they want so bad for girl gamers to wear this victim badge. They want us to victimize ourselves and be like, oh, poor me. Oh, gamers are so toxic. Oh, gamers hate women. And they want to push that narrative so freaking bad, and it's frustrating. And because I speak against that, I have so many people try to come against me. And while the majority of actual gamers are with me on this, including other girls, it's the people of influence that aren't, and that are very angry, and that have said very terrible things to me. I've lost a lot of friends, people I thought were friends, because I started speaking out more about my opinions on stuff, you know, especially regarding current times, current mandates. I know I don't want to get you like demonetized, but things like that. And so I keep seeing these everybody in my industry just keep pushing and pushing for, do this or you're selfish, do this or you're selfish, do this or you're selfish. And I'm just like, dude, I don't see anybody in my space, in my group, out of my colleagues who are saying otherwise. And I just felt like, you know, I want to speak out on this, because I feel like their followers are probably feeling pretty bullied. And so then I made a tweet, and I was just like, yo, do what you want. If people call you selfish, so be it. Do what you want. It's your body. Don't let anybody, streamer or otherwise, don't let anybody tell you what to do with your own body. And oh my gosh, the mob and the amount of people I thought were my friends in the gaming space. I had developers coming after me. I had other fellow streamers coming after me. I had people digging up stuff, trying to just ruin my reputation. And it feels like it just feels like such a huge manipulation tactic, to where they're like, oh, okay, you're not going to follow our narrative, then we're going to ruin your life and ruin how everybody sees you, and make you like not be employable ever again. And I'm at the point now to where it's like, well, am I going to be able to have as many sponsor opportunities as I was before? Probably not, but I'm over it now. I'm just over it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't, I guess you can't put a price on like your own integrity and being able to just speak your mind. Because, Yeah, what's the alternative? Like, you just have to sit there and parrot a lie that you don't believe in every
Yep.
day. Like, that's the kind of thing that would eat away at you.
Yeah, or stay quiet. It's just like either shut up and deal with it, or just, and I'm over it now. I'm just over it. And I feel like I'm too old for this, man. I'm 35 years old. Like, I'm just like, dude, I'm not going to let y'all control me anymore. And that's exactly what I feel like. I feel like I've been silenced for so long. I feel like I've been manipulated and controlled, because there was a time to where I bought into it, where I was like, oh yeah, they just care about people. They care about women. That's great. And they make you think they care about marginalized people and all that. And I kind of, for a couple years there, I was like, oh, all right, this is good, right? And then I started seeing what they do to people who have any nuance of an opinion, even if it's not completely different, just like any amount of nuance. And they just try to ruin their lives. And once I started seeing that, I started speaking up, because I just couldn't sit back and watch that. And I was like, wait a minute, they don't care. They don't care about women. They don't care about marginalized groups and all this and that. They care about control. And if they can't control you, then they want to ruin you. And I just can't stand behind that kind of movement. It's terrible.
It's the classic thing of like, they support women and minorities until women and minorities start disagreeing with them, and then suddenly that support vanishes.
That's exactly it.
But it's one of those things where it only flows one way, because it's like this never-ending cycle of like purging anyone who isn't orthodox enough, who doesn't spout enough of the party line.
Yep.
And you're just going to get rid of more and more people until eventually there's nobody left. And like all those people that have been made homeless, I guess, by this, or have been ostracized by it, they have to go somewhere, and they're going to go the opposite direction. And they're just going to say, well, people on the other side seem to like not give a shit how I think, or that I disagree with them on things. Cool. Well, I guess that's the place for me.
Exactly.
It just feels like a self-defeating strategy, I suppose, for these
people.
They just don't care.
It makes no sense. And they have just this ridiculous standard, and they expect perfection. And the fact is nobody is perfect. So eventually they're going to kick every person out of their whole movement. Their movement isn't sustainable because of this. I feel like it's already starting to crumble. And yeah, those of us who have been ostracized and kicked out and all that kind of stuff, well, then we kind of band together and we're like, all right, we're the resistance. It's fun being the rebels,
Yeah.
I mean, where I'm at.
This is the thing. Like, for a start, I can't fucking believe you're 35.
Thank you.
Like, I'm a couple of years older than you, and you're like, it looks like there's about 20-year age gap. Fucking hard living in Scotland, man. Honestly, it destroys you. But yeah, like that being the case, like you'll remember. I guess how gaming was back in like the 90s and the 2000s, where it was much less concerned with all this crap. I guess before it really gotten infiltrated by all this, really hardcore left-wing stuff. And it was fun. It was a fun space. It was irreverent. It was like, even when I look at the gaming magazines from back then, they were just worlds away from the kind of stuff you would get now. And that was such a fun environment to be in. It just felt like anything went. And it's nowadays, it's puritanical, like you said before. It's just like you got from the right wingers back in the 70s and the 80s, but reversed.
They tag teamed. They're the same.
It's like, yeah, we're out. You're in now.
Yeah. And it's so refreshing now to not worry about that mob, because I'm just like, I always knew before, it was just like any little thing, I was so scared of any little thing I said that could be perceived any way that I knew that they're just going to turn on you. But then everybody else is not like that at all. I know someone could find like the absolute worst thing I've ever said in my life, and they'll be like, oh, okay, that was your past. Sure, I've done that too. Cool. All right, let's talk some games and we're good. And you don't feel that kind of judgment. You feel like we all know we're all human. We all know we've made mistakes, and we're going to keep making mistakes. And hey, that's life. And it's just sad to see people expecting this perfection when nobody is even perfect. And so eventually they're all gonna turn on each other, and there's going to be no one left in their movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you mentioned like friends turning on you and stuff because you said the wrong thing, it's like, well, that's not a friend.
Yep.
Like there's plenty of friends I have who I disagree on a whole bunch of things, like, politically, in terms of like, even games, movies, anything like that. But they're still my friends because I like them, because I've known them for a long time, and we can disagree on things and it's fine. Like, because that's how adults deal with things. And, this idea now that like, oh, my friend has a different political opinion from me. Cool. They can't be my friend anymore. I hate them. They're dead. Like that's really childish behavior.
It is
like childish mindset for life.
Yeah, they dehumanize anybody who doesn't agree with them. Any normal human being, and what we're used to from back in the day and stuff too, is it's just like, yeah, that's part of life. You know you're not going to agree with everything with your friends, and that's fine, and that's not an issue. But now it's like they want to dehumanize you so that they don't feel the guilt for how crappy they treat you. And it's just when you think back of when they were burning witches and stuff way back in the day, they had to call them witches to be able to do it, because how can you be a human being and burn another human being? I mean, that's just unfathomable. But if you dehumanize them, then it's easier to do. And so that's, I kind of feel like, is what's going on now. And that's why they go with all these extremes and call you this, that, and the other, like you're a terrible person just for having a different political opinion or this or that. And so by dehumanizing you, that makes them feel totally okay when they try to ruin your livelihood, try to ruin your reputation, and try to ruin your life, because you're no longer human to them.
Yeah, very much. And like, I guess for me, I stopped caring about all that stuff quite some time ago. And like, that's why I never check like my notifications on Twitter or anything. It's like, I'll just post shit out there and just let it go. Like, I don't care. It's like, I'm sure there's lots of people raging that I criticized current year Tomb Raider, and I like held up the originals as being really good. I don't give a fuck what they think. Like, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that just reminds me of this funny meme, and that's why I even start using it for my graphics for my channel and stuff. Is there's this picture of JJ the jet plane who's just flying and he's smiling, and in the background they just like pasted this whole war scene where there's like these explosions and stuff, and JJ's just flying out. And it's funny because I tweeted the other day that picture, and I was like, me making a hot take tweet and then turning my phone off. Like, that's what it feels like, because they're all in the mentions like arguing with each other about what I said, and I'm just like, wee, okay, let me go play some Tomb Raider.
once you realize like they're ultimately just text on a screen, and if you want to make them go away, all you have to do is turn the screen off. That's all they are. Then you don't have to care anymore. Like, if they hate you, who cares? Like, you don't have to listen to them. And that's the great aspect of the internet. Once you get your head around that, it's like nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
I need to address a serious point that came up. Where's the dog? Because I often have a dog in my streams. Ironically enough, called Lara. There you go. Yeah, she fell asleep in a different room. And the thing is, when a greyhound falls asleep, you can't move them. It's like trying to move a boulder. Like, they're just so she's not going anywhere. So yeah, she's not in here tonight, sadly. Never mind. And yeah, he's got his winter Scottish negative tan going strong. I haven't seen the sun in like 2 months, man. What the fuck?
That's great.
This is what happens, right, when we're locked down and we can't travel overseas. Yeah, you're in Scotland in the wintertime. You just don't get any sunlight for about 3 or 4 months of the year.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. To be fair, my monitor is like blasting white light at me, so that's why I'm still washed out.
I know how it is. Yep. I gotcha.
I suppose, because we touched on this a little bit earlier. The Tomb Raider movies, because they're a thing. They happen.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Angelina Jolie movies. Like, the first one in particular, it was lighthearted, slightly goofy fun. I think if you were going to try and find an actress in the early 2000s to play Lara Croft, she was probably the best you were going to get.
Oh yeah.
She had she had that kind of classic Lara Croft figure. She had
Mm-hmm.
the big like pouty lips and everything. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she played it pretty well, I think.
Oh,
You
she's
know?
perfect. I think I can't imagine a single human being living up to that kind of standard. I feel like she completely embodies classic Lara Croft, and I don't know if anybody could even come close to matching that. And everything, even down to the way that she portrayed her personality, I just love it. I love that. And what's frustrating about when people want to act like, oh, she was just objectified, she was just objectified, like she had so much power. Anytime she walked in a room, she just commanded attention, and she had so much confidence, and I loved that. And what I love about the classic games is that to keep Lara Croft from being that Mary Sue, she was flawed in the fact that she was overconfident.
Mm.
And I feel like now, whenever, like when it comes to the reboot and stuff, they want to add in vulnerabilities and stuff like that. But what was cool about, like, from the movies especially, you see it, and in the games, was just how overconfident Lara was, to the point of complete recklessness, um breaking the clock to like get into it and learn more. Like she was just so rough around the edges. She wanted to do something, and she was just immediately, she was just so action oriented. She didn't always think before she did stuff. She was just always doing something. She always had to be active. She always had to be moving. And when you look at like classic Lara in the games, and one of the things that pops into my mind about like Tomb Raider 3, for example, is Lara on the quad bike trying to get into Area 51, and she just like revs it, doesn't think for a second, and just flies up over the gate, and I don't know what her plan was, and ended up just like falling off and knocking herself out, and that's how she got captured and her weapons taken away. And so you saw her flaws in the fact that she just acted and she didn't think first, and she was so overconfident and so sure of herself that she kept getting herself into trouble. And I just think that's so cool. To me, I would much rather see something like that than just to see her weaknesses be her crying. Like, that's just not fun to me.
Yeah, it's there was a bit that always stuck out in the first game, actually, where she breaks into Natla's headquarters and she needs to get information about where she needs to go next.
Mm-hmm.
She breaks in and then she finds the file that she needs, but she doesn't like run away and then take it back to her home room. She just fucking plonks her arse down at the desk and starts reading it. Like,
I love that so much.
Zero fucks were given there.
Exactly.
Like,
I love
doesn't worry
that
about security
so
or anything.
much. And I just so badly want that Lara Croft back, because even when you look at, like, by the time Core Design got Tomb Raider taken away from them and Crystal Dynamics got it with Tomb Raider Legend and that trilogy, that still is a lot better than what we have now, I feel like, aesthetically. But even so, they didn't quite capture that personality. And I want to see that combination back. I want to see the combination of that like curvy hot design that she had, but then I also want to see the old reckless personality come back. And another thing that I was thinking of about, speaking of the movies, and one of my criticisms, even with the older movies, especially Cradle of Life, I just feel like that was pretty bad. The first one I enjoyed, but Cradle of Life, one of my biggest pet peeves with that is just trying to make Lara like this character who had like this romantic past and all this kind of stuff with, and it took away from her old character. What was so great about her is that she seemed so unattainable. It was like you wanted to be her, or you wanted to be with her, or both. But it was, you knew you couldn't. And so the fact that, she had lovers in the past and all this kind of stuff, that it almost made it seem like, well, crap. Before, she almost seemed like this untouchable, like, yeah, everybody wants her, but they couldn't get her, and she didn't care because she's too hyper focused on this obsession that she has with tomb raiding and artifacts and collecting those, and she was married to that. And so by incorporating that, it definitely did take some away from her. And now a lot of the fans, they want to see her. They have their own headcanons. They want to choose like what type of people she's attracted to, this, that, or the other. And I'm just like, that's Lara should, in my opinion, the whole romance side of things or that kind of thing. If people want to imagine and make their own headcanon, that's fine. But I don't think it should ever be touched on in the games because I love that unattainable element to her.
I think it was Toby Gard who said actually there was something. I can't remember his exact phrasing of it, but it was kind of a poignant. Like you could see how much it meant to him, where he was like, "Lara is always just one step away. She's always one step beyond where you can be, because she's always just in front of you from a camera point of view in the games." And I think that was reflected in his mindset when he was designing her personality and stuff. And I often wonder, like, what would he think of what Tomb Raider has become and what Lara has become? Like, the guy who originally conceived of her as a character,
right?
What does he think of it? Because I've not heard much of him in recent years. I don't know
he's been very salty throughout. I feel like there is some inconsistencies in how he perceives Lara, and he's constantly changing. Like when he's done interviews and stuff, it feels like he's kind of changing. He changes his tune depending on the mood because they did bring him back for like the Legend era. And I feel like when it comes to her aesthetic, he definitely had a firm grasp on her. But what a lot of people don't know is that classic Lara was written by Vicki Arnold. So while Toby Gard created her, Vicki Arnold created her backstory and her personality, all that kind of stuff. That's all on her. And nobody knows where she is. I don't know what happened to her, but she cannot be tracked by anybody. And I feel like that's why when they brought Toby back on for the Legend era, while aesthetically we had that cool design, we didn't quite get the heart of the character back. And I think that's because you really need Vicki Arnold or somebody who at least has that firm grasp and understanding of her character to really bring that back.
I honestly did not know that. I thought he was kind of responsible for her, character design and her personality and stuff. Like he did all that.
He gets all the credit, but she's the one who wrote her, and she doesn't get as much credit as she needs. But I mean, the old devs, they made a crap ton of money from the old games because they got like royalties and stuff like that. And back then, the budgets weren't anything near they are now, but they were selling relatively comparable. And so a lot of the devs just like cashed the heck out and retired. And I think that's what happened with her.
No, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's. I know that they got pretty burned out.
They did.
Era. By the time they came to do Last Revelation, they were like, yes, like we can't keep making Tomb Raider games every year. We need a break. And so they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna kill her off. And then then straight away it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to do Tomb Raider Chronicles, which is going to be a bunch of flashbacks to earlier times in Lara's life. Fuck.
Yeah, because Artist was like, nope, you're bringing her back. Like, crap, now what are we going to do? And then that's
you kind of see it in the later games, though. Like, the puzzles and the levels weren't as well designed, and clearly it was rushed. And their hearts weren't really in it as much.
And even Lara's personality in Last Revelation, she was over everything. She was tired. You could tell that definitely reflected how the developers felt because she was just over it. She's over everything. That was not a fun adventure for her. And it's like, yeah, the devs are really projecting on the character there.
It wasn't as bad as Matrix 4, where it's like just straight up, our parent company's forcing us to make this shit and we don't want to do it.
I haven't even seen it. I heard it was so terrible.
Don't do yourself a favor and watch it. You're not going to get anything out of it. The only other one I was going to like touch upon, and I almost feel like I would be struggling to think of much interesting to say about this. The Alicia Vikander movie. Where they brought Lara back again, and God bless her. I'm sure she did her best, but like she doesn't have the charisma or the screen presence or the magnetism of Angelina Jolie. and her Lara just felt like she was lost in the background in her own movie.
Right.
It was a really weird. It was a really weird cinema experience watching that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I do really like her, but I mean, gosh, ain't nobody gonna be able to live up to Angelina's Lara Croft. She just embodied the character so well, and I also think where Alicia got the short end of the stick was her story that she had to be a part of as well, because with them being so influenced by the reboot game and having to follow that story, I mean, even for the game standards, the story was its weakest, or at least one of the weakest parts of it. And so when you're incorporating a weak story and trying to retell that, I think all things considered, they did better than the game in some ways. In terms of even Lara's character, she did at least have more confidence than she did in the game. But again, if you're holding the movie on its own or comparing it to like past iterations, it definitely doesn't hold up, and Lara just isn't as memorable, not even close. And I feel like with what they're working on with the potential sequel and all that, in my opinion, they're gonna really have to make a brand new story, stop following the game stories, because the reboot game stories are just, they're not even coherent with each other, and they're the worst parts about the games. And so when they keep trying to follow bad stories, it's not going to end well, and it's not going to stick with people. So I mean, some of us have some sort of hope because their new director and all that, she at least kind of teases about liking the older iterations of Lara. Alicia has even said like that she wants the next movie to be more fun and all that. But I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. The best they can do is just try to create a new adventure and stay far away from the reboot stories, in my opinion.
Shit, man, I always wanted a movie where they actually have Lara go after the ski on and they bring in Atlantis and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That would have been great, because you want a globetrotting adventure. You want her to be like Indiana Jones for the modern age. That's how they conceived her in the first place. And that would be great. It's never happened.
Yeah. And you
need here, actually. Okay. Yeah, the Jurassic World Dominion trailer. Can I talk about it? Yeah, I'll get onto that. Don't you worry. Say, fucking jangling those keys in front of you. You like Alan Grant, don't you? You like Jeff Goldblum, don't you? You like Laura Dern, don't you? We're gonna show you them. Fuck off. Manipulation bullshit. They've all been garbage, those movies. Anyway, I've said a bit about that already, but I'll leave that for
right. I mean, speaking of Jurassic Park, though, and when it comes to Tomb Raider, like, why aren't we seeing dinosaurs in the movie and crap like that, or in the games even now? Like, what happened?
I just thought about from the original game, actually, when a fucking T-Rex shows up. Lara's not even like, holy shit, a dinosaur.
She's know.
Like, yeah, it's got shit.
Well. And you see that in the movie, in the Angelina movies as well, is that Lara doesn't lose her cool. She's almost like psychotic, because that's not a natural reaction to things. And so she's right. Like, anything that could happen, and anytime she's in danger, she loves it. And I miss that. And that was so fun about her characters. It's just like, what the crap? She's crazy. And it just made her so much more fun. And I really hope to see that come back. Now, do I think we will? Not anytime soon, but I would love to see that anyway.
When that giant stone golem thing comes to life in the first movie, she's just like, yeah, cool, I got to shoot it, obviously.
Right.
Exactly. It's a smart thing to do. She's not like, what the fuck? Why is this stone thing moving around? I don't understand what's happening.
I love that. And then whenever she had the intruders at Croft Manor, and they're all shooting at her, and she's like hiding behind cover, and she's just like, oh, there's my car keys. Like, she says that. And it's just nothing phases her. You can't make her lose her cool. And I love that, because it just shows that, dude, this woman is crazy. And I absolutely love that for her.
I love that. It's like Lara gets committed to a mental asylum or something.
She should be.
You are seriously disturbed.
She's a grave robber. She steals artifacts. And another line that I just love so much, which was in Cradle of Life, even though I didn't like that movie as much. But whenever she's like, she sees the Mati artifact and she's looking at it, and then the two guys that were with her was like, "What is that?" And she goes, "It's mine." Like she's just so focused, like so she's obsessed, and that just is so fun to me.
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's the kind of Lara that I want. I'm just looking through chat as well. Have I played the Fallout games? Yeah, most of them. I've got a giant fucking T60 power armor suit in my like display case. I don't know if you can quite see it from here. I would need to move the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing just barely fits in, but it's
fucking
awesome. I'm pleased I got that. The one question I was going to ask you, actually, would you ever want to see, like they did with the Uncharted movies, with the fourth one, Nathan Drake is older in that one. It sort of plays with the idea that, you know, he progresses in life and stuff, and maybe he's at a different place than he was when he started out. Would you ever want to see that with Lara, or would you rather have her just be almost time locked as, like, you know, a young adventurer?
I think for myself and for a lot of people in the community, we would love to see a mature Lara Croft, like mid-40s, something like I would, because I feel like by that time she's going to be even more hardened, and I just feel like it could be awesome. I feel like they could do a great job with it. I mean, the internet is all about the MILFs these days anyway. It's the perfect time to do it.
I think, like, I would almost want to see it if they made that conscious decision that this will be the last Tomb Raider game we do. You know, it's like, this is how she's going out, and we're going to deal with the fact that she's gotten older because, you know, the Tomb Raider games have been out for a long time, and you know, this is Lara in her like the end of her sort of career as an adventurer, but going on one last awesome adventure before bowing out. I think that could be pretty fucking cool.
Even let her die at the end. Like, I know it sounds crazy because I love her so much, but I just feel like when I think of Lara Croft, I think of classic Lara, her obsession and just how that played into her character. Like, this woman is she's gonna live her life for adventure, and she's gonna go out with a bang, man. That's how she ain't gonna. I don't see her retiring, having kids, and knitting sweaters. No, that woman is gonna die in a tomb with a smile on her face. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
No, I think that could work. I think that'd be quite a cool thing to see. There was another thing I was going to talk about, because I know we covered quite a bit of Tomb Raider, but there's various things that have happened today, and one of which is Lord of the Rings, where they Vanity Fair have done a fantastic article that goes on for about 500 pages that I've been struggling to get through, but like they've produced a lot of on-set photos, and I was gonna share some of them now so we could just talk about them briefly. Just give me a second while I bring it up. There we go. You should see like infinite us. Anyway, I'll put it back up to the top. You can see this. You guys all see that okay? I assume.
Yeah. I mean, I see it fine on my end.
Yeah, let's go. So yeah, we have got Galadriel.
That's just
full battle armor.
She's so unrecognizable. And I feel like to them, this is like, hey, this is a power move here, but it's just like, it's a downgrade to her character, or something so ethereal, and just her presence alone was so powerful in the Peter Jackson version. And this looks like it's something out of Game of Thrones or something. I'm not getting that same vibe.
I had a talk with another guest who was on for the last happy hour, called Baggage Claim, and we talked about this sort of there's a power in femininity in characters, and it's not based on like how tough they look or how big and strong and burly they are, like this one here where she's in the suit of armor, you know, which is interesting because we've obviously been talking about Lara Croft over the course of this discussion, but like that was the kind of opposite end of the spectrum where you had characters like Galadriel who are very like feminine and gentle, but like there's a power beneath them that they don't often show. But that's you knew when you saw Galadriel on screen in Lord of the Rings, like this is not a person that you crossed. Like she is a dangerous person. It's just that she's got this facade of gentleness and femininity.
Right.
And that was enough.
And it's unfortunately where I feel like that femininity is the more looked down on now, or it's not seen as powerful, and they have to turn women into these more androgynous designs for them to feel like, to make them powerful. But that's the thing, is when you look at a bunch of the femme fatale characters in general, which are some of my favorites, it was their femininity that made them seem even more powerful. Because from a woman's perspective, if I were to think of my ultimate power fantasy, what if I could like transform myself into a video game or something, then yeah, being that hyper feminine, curvy, like womanly looking, that is part of the power fantasy. And so this just ain't, just doesn't have the same effect. And then the thing about Galadriel too is like she was very feminine, and she was very like ethereal and all that, and she was powerful at the same time. And she's my little brother's favorite character in all of Lord of the Rings. And it's not just femininity isn't weakness. And people look at her as strong, and even my little brother is just like, wow, she's awesome, she's my favorite character. Like, and it's sad to feel like society is treats femininity like it's almost shameful.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the example that came to mind recently for me was watching Black Widow, when you know the character of Natasha Romanoff was a very femme fatale kind of character, where she could use her attractiveness and her sexuality to her advantage to put people off guard or to seduce them or whatever. Whereas in this movie, where she had her own film, they did everything in their power to just make her look almost like a man. Like even the outfit that she wore, it was designed to, you know, make the shoulders look broader, or like kind of raise her chest or whatever, and just make her look like a guy. Yeah, it was such a strange choice, because I thought that's not the strength of the character. It wasn't in how physically strong she was. Yep. It was about how she could manipulate people. It was about how intelligent she was and cunning she was. All of that I agree. It was strange.
And it's like, dude, they must have had to work really hard because Scarlett Johansson is so gorgeous. And it's like, y'all have to put in a ton of effort to try to take that beauty down a notch.
How do we dress her down? Like, damn.
Right.
Yeah, I've got here, fucking hell. We've got the dwarf queen in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, we've got you know, a very diverse elf, which there was a thing, but apparently it is. Yeah, I think that gives me an indication of where this show's going.
It just feels like pandering, and I think that, you know, when I think about a game or a movie or anything, when they replace a character with a female one, and they think that that's going to make all the women happy, that's always frustrating, because it's just like, you didn't have to do that. Like, we can't appreciate male characters. And I feel like in this instance too, whenever they swap races and stuff, obviously I can't speak for them, but I almost feel like they're just pandering. And I feel like that's I know, at least from what I've seen and some of the opinions that I've seen from more from people, is that it's almost insulting sometimes to think, oh, now you can watch this because you're represented. Like, you can't enjoy it unless you're represented, you know?
I think, yeah, because I spoke about this once on Twitter not too long ago, and yeah, it's this weird sort of narcissistic view that, like, I can't enjoy something unless I literally see someone who looks and talks and acts and thinks like me on screen. That's the only way I can identify with them. And that's That's not a normal person. That's a sociopath who can't
Yep.
empathize with anyone who's different from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I watched Star Wars as a kid, like Luke Skywalker wasn't like a 10-year-old kid from
Right.
Scotland. You know what I mean? But like I can empathize with him.
And when I was a kid, Darth Vader was my favorite character. I have nothing in common with Darth Vader, but I just loved him when I was a kid, you know? And so it's just unfortunate when, and it feels insulting for myself whenever it's just like these TV shows, movies, video games, or whatever are like, oh, you can enjoy this now because there's a woman in it, or whatever. And I'm like, you know, I could have enjoyed it otherwise. I didn't have to have that.
That's it. You know, we all enjoyed the original Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
the trilogy, because it was fantastically made and it was faithful to the books. That was why we got it. We didn't appreciate it because it was a diverse cast.
Right.
Yeah, we've got a half elf here. Yeah, this article goes on forever.
It's just if we were not told that this is Lord of the Rings, then I wouldn't know that it was. I would think it's like an HBO Game of Thrones type inspired thing.
I think that's what they're going for. Ultimately, they just want to be the next Game of Thrones. This is a single mother here who's apparently the village healer, because you know, of course, she is. This, I don't know what the fuck this is going to be. It's poor extras. Look at that dude on the left. He is just not having a good day.
Wow. That's funny.
It's like, what are you going to be doing today? Right, I'm going to get a pair of deer antlers and I'm going to make them 500% bigger and I'm going to strap them to your back. Go!
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What they're even supposed to be. Like, it doesn't look like a Nazgul or anything. I don't know what's going on there.
I am baffled by this, genuinely. Yeah, points the way for two nomadic hunters wandering the fields of Middle Earth. Like, really? Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. This thing goes on forever. But I think one of the big takeaways I had from this was that the audio went weird there.
Yeah, it did for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, the two guys behind this are closely tied with Bad Robot, which immediately just sets the alarm bells ringing. Yeah, these are not the kind of people that you want running your TV show that's going to be faithful to the source material.
Right. Unfortunately, and that's the thing is I feel like with a lot of properties that have massive fan bases, obviously Lord of the Rings having an enormous one. And like we were talking earlier with Tomb Raider, is they don't care about the fans. They're not even they feel like, oh, they're gonna watch anyway, or they're gonna buy anyway, whatever the property is. And they're trying to appeal to Twitter retweets and Twitter likes and all that. And that's just not a very what we're saying is that's just not a very profitable strategy. Retweets ain't gonna pay your mortgages.
No, well, that's the thing. Most of these people who spend their lives on Twitter complaining about stuff, they are living in a studio apartment with like 6 other people, and their income is like, you know, $500 a month or something.
Yeah, a lot of them are 18-year-olds, and I find so many people who hate on me or have try to cancel me and all this are usually like teenagers or very early 20s. They don't have any concept of what, especially if the way things are now and the lockdowns that have happened and all this and that, they're not experiencing a social life like we did when we were their age. And they're so disconnected from reality and what real people are like. And they think that Twitter reflects real life. And yeah, that just gives them such a weird perspective on reality.
It's you know, it's such a shame because I guess the past couple of years have only exacerbated that because, you know, for most of us we've been kind of locked down and like normal social lives have kind of had to stop for a while.
Yeah.
And it plays into that whole thing that like the online space is your reality now, but it absolutely isn't. It's just this weird distorted view of the world that like, yeah, it just absolutely destroys people's minds.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. Like, I guess I'm old enough to remember a time before all this. People just kind of got on with their day-to-day lives without worrying too much about all this stuff. And man, it was so much easier.
It was. It really was. And then people like on Twitter or something, if they see that I'm following a specific individual that they ended up finding some dirt on that they tweeted something 10 years ago, and they're showing me thinking that I'm gonna hate this person now. And I'm like, oh look, an edgy joke from 12 years ago that everybody used to make,
Yeah.
This kind of stuff was normal back in the day. And it's just, they have no idea what times were like back in Call of Duty lobbies and stuff back in the
day. You weren't there, man. You didn't know.
Let alone like just being around other kids and stuff from well before then. It's like, man, times are a lot different now. And people, we used to have the philosophy of like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We didn't let stuff bother us. And now it's at the point where people are just so offended by even jokes. People can't handle hopping on whatever game platform of their choice and people being toxic banter back and forth, and they can't even handle it. I'm at the point to where it's like, dude, I'm used to that. And if I'm hopping on and playing video games with my friends, if they're not calling me names or telling me to get in the kitchen, then I'm like, what's wrong? This is part of the fun.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, shit talking and the internet go hand in hand, and especially when you're doing online gaming. Like, I'm not going to pretend for a second that I'm a hardcore gamer or anything. I'm like casual at the very best, but I've seen how it is in all of these lobbies and stuff, and people will go after anything that they can. Yeah, like if you've got some speech impediment or whatever, clearly they're going to take the piss out of that. If you're a woman, they're going to make fun of that because that's something they can go after. It's not like particularly like they hate women or anything. It's just like they can target to try and just put you off balance and trash talk. That's just how it's done.
And I made a tweet about that, I don't know, like a month ago or something, and it made its rounds. And then some people were replying and they're like, oh, I don't mind smack talk. They just shouldn't be getting personal. And I'm like, then it's not smack talk.
It's not personal. What is it then?
It's just like, oh, you're bad at the game. Haha. Like, no, that's not smack talk then. Like, they need the whole point is you want to find those personal insults. That's what makes it so fun. And I don't understand how people can't enjoy being roasted. It's like that's part of the fun. You roast people, you get roasted, then you're done with the game and you're all adding each other to your friends list afterwards. It's just part of the fun.
Yeah. It really is. And most of the time they don't know a single thing about you. They don't know you. It's not personal. They're just like, this person's like someone I'm going to take the piss out of. That's it. It happens.
Right.
And when you talk about like worlds will never hurt me, like sticks and stones and stuff like that. We all went to high school, man. Like, what actually hurts you is a fucking headbutt to the face. Like, you get pointed at in Scotland, let me tell you.
Yeah, times have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, but that's I don't know, man. Like, again, with things like college, university, whatever it is, they want it to be this like personal safe space that's just set up to accommodate them, and nothing will challenge them, nothing will make them feel bad or anything. That's really not what university is meant to do for you. It's meant to challenge you. It's meant to make you feel uncomfortable because it's meant to prepare you for the real world. Because when you get out there, guess what? You're going to be surrounded by like a whole lot of people who don't agree with you. And you need to be able to deal with that. And if you can't, you're not going to cope very well, and you're not going to get very far in the world. And that's what it used to be about. It used to be about preparing you. Now it's just about coddling you. What does that do for people?
And it's making people weak. And it's just like that's the thing about resilience and discipline, both. Like you aren't born with it. You gotta. It's like a muscle. You gotta work it. You gotta build it. And when you're just constantly being coddled and stuff, then you're gonna grow up to be a weak person. And so yeah, it's not good.
It's the same thing I see when it's like I think in America they've done away with like doctors being able to advise you that you should get weighed.
Oh, I saw that.
Because it might make people feel uncomfortable, and it's like, well, if you weigh like 300 pounds,
Right.
you should be weighed, and you should be made to understand that's really bad for you, and you'll probably shorten your lifespan by doing that. But it's like, no, we should just let people believe that they're fine because we don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
Like, medicine is not about like preserving your feelings; it's about preserving your fucking life. That's the point.
Exactly. And that's where, I don't know, that's why I get awful suspicious about a lot of stuff. And I feel like it's almost like people are just more compliant when they're weaker. And I almost feel like that's one reason why things are the way they are, because like, I don't feel like our government cares about us actually being healthy. And so when they want to talk about all these mandates and this and that, if they actually cared about our health, then they would be addressing that healthy lifestyle is the most important factor here. And that's not being pushed at all. You can go and get the, and get a donut after. And it's like, this isn't helping anybody if you're not teaching good lifestyle choices. And like, I'm all for, obviously, when I say that, I'm not saying I don't think people should get whatever. People should do what they want. But it's important to stress important lifestyle changes as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think your audio was glitching out slightly.
But, okay.
Yeah, like with all of this stuff, it's one thing to medicate people or prescribe this or that or the other, but like, yeah, to say to them, yeah, you should probably lose a bit of weight and you should exercise more. You should try and balance all these things out. That used to be just simple common sense advice, and now it's almost looked on as sacrilege. You can't tell people that. Like that's gonna make them feel sad, and it's gonna discriminate against them. It's not gonna, like, it's just, that's what you need to do in order to be healthy.
Yeah, it's just I also lost one of my friends recently for that. Not lost. They unfriended me because I was just posting like my gym stuff and all that, and people in my comments will ask for advice or whatever, and they always, one common thing they like to talk about is metabolism. Oh, I wish my metabolism was fast enough for this, and so I try to stress that, well, yes, metabolism does play a role to a certain degree, but it's not like you have this inhumanly different metabolisms between one person and the other. It's your lifestyle choices and your nutrition choices that are going to play into that. And so I said that, and one of my friends got very mad. And I'm just like, wow, you can't even try to educate people on better nutrition without somebody being mad.
Yeah. No, I would expect all of my friends, like if they saw me rock up to a night out or whatever, and I was totally out of shape, I would just expect them to say, "Drinker, you're fat as fuck. Get yourself sorted out." And I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, fine. Like, you got a point there." Yeah, like that's the rationale I go by is like, I don't know, if I'm putting my jeans on and they're starting to feel tight, I don't buy myself a bigger pair of jeans. I just think, yeah, I need to lose a bit of weight. That's the pretty good benchmark to go by.
Exactly. Apparently my mic is popping. I'm
Yeah,
trying to turn it down now to see if it fixes it, but I don't know.
I think, yeah, it's been okay so far.
Let me turn it down, maybe. I turned it down a lot, so I don't know if this changed it. Okay, they said it's better now. Yay!
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did see, like, a video you made, because I know you changed your diet and you went onto like the carnivore diet or something.
Yeah.
And that worked out pretty well for you.
It did. It's made such a massive difference. And that's another reason why, with the current climate and the way things are, with everybody trying to censor, quote, misinformation. And it's like, literally what I stumbled on is technically misinformation, and it completely transformed my health for the better. So that's another reason why I'm just like, the way that the social climate is right now is incredibly frustrating, because I just think, well, this really helped me. And just to think that people may not have access to to different things that aren't commonly taught, and that they're not able to try them and learn for themselves. And that's the thing at the end of the day, is when I think about the internet, is we don't need to appoint some council to tell us how to use our brains. And the beauty of the internet is that it's open and that we can find information on anything we want. We can figure stuff out for ourselves. And yeah, we might try something that doesn't work or this, that, or the other, but we all have a brain and we can all use it. And we don't need somebody telling us how to live our lives, and some council to censor everybody who doesn't follow exact mainstream advice that clearly doesn't work for everybody.
Yep. One thing I was going to suggest is, I know we've had quite a few super chats come in while we've been talking. If you got a little bit of time, I can probably go through some of them, and
yeah,
I'm sure some of them will be for you as well. So just give me a second while I bring them up. Where are you at? Okay, so load. All right, so the first one was from Chuxenhausen. He said, Drinker, I started watching Reacher, and it's legendary. From a strong male lead to great writing plus solid fights. It's worthy of a review. Just a favor to ask. 1, bring back the Dr. Weir scream a bit. I will, absolutely. Plus, for the Reacher review, will you use a bit of Thad from Blue Mountain State, the same guy as Reacher, screaming like a little girl? If so, that would be hash brown legendary. Thanks, man. I haven't watched Reacher yet, but a couple of my mates have seen it. They said it was really good. So, yeah, I would happily give it a go. I don't know if you heard about this at all or anything.
I'm so bad with a lot of pop culture things that are outside the gaming and the gaming type space, and or anime or something like that. Then I'm like a little clueless.
Yeah.
But it depends. Sometimes I'll know.
I think like Reacher is based on a series of books, like a series of sort of action thrillers, and he's your classic like tough guy male character. Like he doesn't talk much. He's huge. He's muscular. Like he can beat the shit out of people. He basically lives on a diet of like coffee and raw fucking meat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think they've tried to reflect that in the TV show, because they did a couple of movies a few years ago, and it had Tom Cruise in the role, and there was a bit of controversy there, because Reacher I think is meant to be about 6'3", and Tom Cruise clearly isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully
he's got attitude though. Like he can pull off the like big guy attitude. So we'll see.
I tell you what, man. Like I've developed a lot more respect for Tom Cruise in recent years. Doing things like the Mission Impossible movies, like he does his own stunts. He's broken like half the bones in his body doing it.
Yeah.
And just like he's been in just so many fucking good movies. Like I can overlook his slightly kind of quirky beliefs and stuff. Just think he's a fantastic star. You know, one of the few movie stars that we have left, I guess.
Yeah.
And he basically, I think he got to about 40 and then decided he was going to stop aging.
Yeah, I think so. He's like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done right here.
Like, I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to pause it. That's fine. It's I mentioned this as well. Like the girl who's in Boba Fett, she plays Fennec. She is 58 years old.
Oh yes, I think she looks amazing.
Fuck, man!
It's just what's going on? Like how is she staying so young? What kind of diet is she on? That's what I need to know.
I don't know if it's great lifestyle choices or just good genes or
right.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm from Scotland. I'm actually 15 years old, and like. It's weird. Like people just age at different rates, I suppose. Like some people are lucky.
Yeah.
Next one is RRTNZ. He said, "Hail drinker and guest. I like the first film best. Inventive action sequences, amazing soundtrack, likable cast who were having fun, even Daniel Craig. So I did too. Not a great film, but great fun. Cheers."
I agree. That was actually really well summarized. I agree completely.
An early role for Daniel Craig doing a really odd American accent, but
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny to me is how they want to act like Lara Croft was so objectified. They objectified the men more than they did her.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
he has a shirtless scene, doesn't he? He's in like
he has a completely like unclothed scene. They just have convenient camera angles.
yeah,
Yeah, and even in the movie after with Terry, he again, it's just he's in the prison cell like doing some inverted push-ups and stuff. It's just like, dude, they definitely objectified the men more than they did her. So people don't have room to talk on that one.
that's the thing. I don't mind a movie where like you objectify men as long
No,
as you get to objectify women as well. Like
exactly.
give everyone something that they want. You know, you can have the
Exactly.
guys like big and buff and shirtless, and you can have the
Yeah.
women like in revealing clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
Great, everyone's happy then.
I agree.
Unhinged said the drinker can raid my tomb anytime. No consent required. Well, I'll hold you to that. J.S. Pena said, Chrissy Meyer, drunk 3PO and now drinker. Damn, Melonie is on a roll. Respect.
Yay. It's been fun.
Yeah, making your way around the different streamers. Nice one. Black Sun said, Tomb Raider, the rested bitch face version was the only good one. Not so much positive things to talk about. Okay.
I love that take because, like, that's the thing. Classic Lara did have RBF, and it was amazing. I just love that.
It's great when she brought her guns out though, and she gave the kind of snarl, like
Yeah, it's like you hold the guns up, and then as soon,
yeah. They didn't have many polygons to play with back then,
right?
Simple. Mike says Tomb Raider, the 2013 one was amazing. So that would be the rebooted one.
It was a fun game. I think as a game in general, yeah, it's a great game. I think it's just not. It's not an actual Tomb Raider experience, in my opinion, but it's a good game. Absolutely, I agree.
Bird Up says, cheers, Drinker and Melonie. Tomb Raider was my favorite game series to rage quit back in the day.
That's the thing about the old games, man. They don't hold your hand. So if you get stuck on a puzzle, man, I remember when I was younger, I'd be stuck on a puzzle for so long. Like me and my brothers would take turns with the controller and just watching each other try to figure stuff out and try to locate a key for hours. It was good times.
There's so many, there's just so much random shit in it. Like the bit where you touch the hand of Midas and it'll turn Lara into a fucking gold statue.
Yeah, that just blew my mind back then because that was like, what is happening? And the thing about Tomb Raider 1 is it really did impact the action adventure genre as a whole. It influenced a lot. It was ahead of its time, really, I think.
Yeah. One of the things I mentioned, like when I talked about this previously, was if you got your hands on the Uzis, if you were like a woman in hot pants doing a backflip somersault while Joe wielding Uzis to shoot like a fucking like giant alien thing, man, you were living the dream back in the 1990s.
Yes.
That's gaming right there.
That's just yeah. The 90s were the absolute best. That was good times.
Yeah, it was a great time. Beep Bop Boop says, hi Drinker, have you seen the cast announcement and artwork for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon? Looks really awesome. I haven't been following that too closely, so I don't know what's going on there. It's nice that Zack's still doing stuff though, I suppose. Ghost in the Craig said, a clean-cut drinker and a gorgeous guest. Right on.
Aw, thank you.
One day I'm going to shave my beard off on stream and see what I look like then. Because I honestly haven't seen my face in like a couple of years, so kind of curious.
It's cool though. It's cool.
Yeah. Sliber said, thanks for recommending All of Us Are Dead. Do you think it's authentically written? Do we need that to be continued? Is there any hope for cinema? There's a lot of questions. I think it's pretty well written. Yeah, I like All of Us Are Dead. It's like a Korean zombie TV show. So like zombie outbreak happened in high school. So
is that on what platform is that on?
Netflix, get it on.
Okay, that sounds like up my alley. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen Train to Busan, It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Similar idea. The fast zombies, the ones that will run after you.
Yeah, the scary ones.
Yeah, exactly. Drunk 3PO, hey, says,
Hey!
cheers, drinker, and cheers, Melonie. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Joshua Levesque says, hey, well, cheers to your new guest. Got an off-topic question. Do you think Lucasfilm will make Mando and or Boba any dumber after the Book of Boba Fett finale? I don't think that's physically possible. Fucking hell, man.
I love
it. Some of the dialogue for that final episode, it's like, we're going to retreat to the palace. Nah, you should stand your ground here and fight in the city. We'll stay in the city. That's it. That's the extent of their planning. Fucking hell. I wish that was that easily influenced.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
The review is coming. Believe that. Yeah, give me until tomorrow. I've got a review coming for Boba Fett, man. I'm going to tear that a new arsehole. Paul Boulos says, I love watching the drinker go on these online dates. You'll never replace Tatiana. Yeah.
I feel like super chats always try to embarrass the channel. Like when I was on Drunk PPO's podcast, it was the same thing. They just do whatever they can to try to embarrass.
Yeah, that's the joys of super chats, man. Honestly, the best part is when I'm trying to wrap things up and give some poignant, meaningful speech at the end, just so I can close the stream down, and then I get more super chats coming in.
Right.
No, keep talking, drinker. Calvin the Alias gave me a $3 super sticker. Thanks, man. Renkabot says, Drinker, big fan of your show. Happy to hear you speak about Tomb Raider. As one of the original developers, we spent a lot of time creating the levels and the puzzles. There we go. We've got an original Tomb Raider here right now.
Oh, hi.
That Renkabot, honestly, I would bring you on the fucking stream right now. Make yourself known if you're still here, and I'll try and find a way to bring you in.
That is awesome.
That is pretty cool because, like with the original game, I genuinely appreciated how well constructed a lot of the levels were.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
we talked about that earlier, but yeah, like just so well thought out. So many of the puzzles, they didn't hold your hands, but there was usually a fairly logical solution.
Yeah, they weren't stupid. They actually made sense. And what you saw later with like Tomb Raider 2 definitely took a more action heavy approach after Tomb Raider 1. And then Tomb Raider 3 went back to more exploration, than actually had a lot of globetrotting, but there were parts of the games where I feel like the devs were just like, we want to make this as stupid hard as possible, and there were times where things were hard that it didn't exactly make sense. And so Tomb Raider 1 just had that perfect balance of everything.
Yeah. The other games that come to mind, and I don't know if you had much experience with these, was the Resident Evil series.
Oh yeah.
Where again, like you weren't really given much directions about where to go or what to do, but you kind of had to figure it out for yourself. And it also came down to how you're going to react to characters' input to what you should do. So like say Barry tells you should go from the first floor and work your way through the mansion that way. You could listen to him, or you could do the exact opposite. And if you did the opposite, you would catch him doing like dodgy things in like an office somewhere. He'd be like destroying files or whatever.
Right.
Start to clue you in that he was not on the level. But if you did what he suggested, he would rescue you from traps. He would help you out, and you would trust him more as a result. And I just thought that was an interesting bit of game design where it doesn't really give you a conscious choice. It's just something that's woven into the game.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like games that really did puzzles super well. And I feel like there's a lot of overlap with like the Tomb Raider community and the Resident Evil community for similar reasons, because they both did puzzles so well. And so that's why usually if I find someone who's like a Tomb Raider fan, usually they like Resident Evil as well, and vice versa.
It's funny because comparing the two, like going from like Tomb Raider where you're leaping around and doing backflips and stuff, to Resident Evil where you have to press a button just to go through up a staircase.
Right. Yeah.
Very different in that sense, but yeah, like I get what you mean, like the same focus on exploration and puzzle
Mhm.
solving and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the Resident Evil games back in the day. Like
Mhm.
that and Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy were probably the
Yep.
defining games of the 90s for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel you.
there's a good question here, actually. How did you come to do what you do? How did you get into doing YouTube videos in the first place?
Oh,
Or
well,
both?
for me, I started like 12 years ago. I was just doing it because I used to be like extremely painfully shy and I wanted to do like gaming type stuff. And back then there were no influencers or anything like that. So I thought, oh, well, maybe I want to do something like Jessica Chobot did for IGN and that kind of thing. And so that's why I started my YouTube channel originally. And so then from there, I just kind of it turned into what it did over time. I just walked right into it. I was like one of the first girl gamers in the content creation space, but I just happened to walk into it, right place, right time.
Nice. Well, it
Yeah,
worked out pretty well for you in the end, didn't it?
it did. Yeah, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, well, like for me, I got into YouTube originally just because I enjoyed sharing my thoughts about like storytelling and stuff, and I kind of wanted to learn more about video editing. I didn't know anything about it. My original videos were like the most shockingly amateurish shite that you've ever seen.
Hmm.
But gradually improved it, and then took a break because I started writing novels and I got publishing deals and stuff. And so, like
Hmm.
for about 10 years, I didn't do any more YouTube stuff. And then eventually decided to come back to it because I had a bit more time, and then it took off, and that's
Yeah.
where I am now. So
And
yeah,
I like how you talk about when you started how you didn't have like fancy equipment, you didn't have fancy all this kind of stuff, and that's one thing I like to stress to people who are like, well, how do I start? What do I got to invest in? And it's like, really, you don't have to invest in expensive equipment. You don't have to invest in the fancy stuff because it's really your personality and your own unique style that's gonna sell to people and what's going to make them want to watch you. And then from there, after if things take off more, then you can always invest in better equipment. But ultimately, if you look at the successful people in the content creation space, is most of them didn't start with amazing equipment. Most of them started just, and it's their personality and their own style and their own uniqueness that got them going.
when I started, I didn't even have a webcam. I had to use a camera that I
Uh-huh.
record video onto, and then I would connect it up to my PC to upload the video footage. And
That's
then
what I did. That's what I did too. That's why, man, my first videos, it's like, yeah, really crappy equipment.
yeah, and it's like you made it work, but like you
Yep.
think back to it now, and you're like, God, that is so shockingly primitive, and it must have
Hmm.
taken forever. But like that's
Yeah.
what you did because you didn't know any better.
Right.
But yeah, you find a way to make it work, I suppose, and yeah, I guess we
Hmm.
eventually did. Yeah, there was someone else mentioned Command and Conquer. Yeah,
I used to play Generals 0 hour. That was my fave.
I had like I don't know if you remember this, but like when you had your PlayStations, you could get a link cable to connect
Hmm.
two PlayStations together, but you had to have two TVs as well. So
Hmm.
every so often, I would go around to my friend's house with my PlayStation and a fucking big CRT television,
Yeah.
with my link cable, and then we'd connect everything up, and then you could play Command and Conquer with your friend.
Hmm.
That was like, yeah, living the dream right there. Yeah, it's a lot easier nowadays, to be fair.
Yeah.
Night King 01 says, I like the first reboot game, nice journey, but then each game after that just resets her arc, which was strange. It's like they only planned one game.
Yeah, it does feel like it. And then even when the story isn't coherent among the trilogy, I think obviously it's just all speculation. But what it appears to me is that originally it seems like they set up the reboot to where they wanted to go back to the classic style, but because the reboot game sold so well, they were like, let's turn it into a trilogy.
Mm.
And then when they did, then the story like contradicts each other from time to time, especially from Rise to Shadow. It doesn't add up and it doesn't line up and it's just kind of a mess story wise.
No argument here.
Mhm.
I can't say this name. Leo Gabimir Rusinov gave me a super sticker for 10 whatever they are. I don't know what that is. Sometimes I see weird currencies that I've never seen before. Black Sun said, your favorite music genre is pirate metal? Yeah. So I'm going to download a bunch of fart symphonies through torrent apps and send it your way. Good day, sir. Man, I went and saw Ailstorm over in Glasgow like a couple of months back. It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
I couldn't speak for about 2 days afterwards because I did just so much shouting, but
right.
Good. Oki Native said, OG Lara is there to kick ass and chew bubble gum. Yeah, she fucking is. And she's out of bubble gum.
Yes.
Frederick Landon says, the drunken harem grows. First it was Tatiana, then it was Anna, and now he steals Melonie. At least the rest of us master drinkers, sir. So I don't own any of these people. They're just once you're on the Drinkers live stream, he owns you.
Yeah. I guess that's it. You could almost have your own Netflix live action anime, harem anime now.
Yeah. Everyone's drunk all the time. The Uber Geek, he said, Lara Croft isn't genuine without the pointy triangle boobs. Yeah. That was it back in the day.
Iconic.
That was the limitations of our technology. The thing is, when Tomb Raider 2 came around and they were kind of
they rounded them.
It was like, holy shit, we're in the future now, boys.
Yeah.
Jamie Boyer said, good evening, you beautiful people. What would you say makes OG Lara a better female lead than today's crop of Mary Sues? Keep up the great work. Yeah, good question, actually. So why do we like her? What makes her a good character?
I like her that she's rebellious and that they weren't scared to make her like a selfish type character. And I feel like so many games play it so safe with female leads now to where they make them all have to be good. And Lara was really a chaotic neutral. If you look at classic Lara, she wasn't really good or bad. I mean, she wouldn't purposefully do anything bad, but she was so selfish and okay, yeah, if she would do good if it happened to align with her own interest. But she wasn't going to go out of her way to do good just to be good. And I like that. It gets so boring whenever it's like, oh, here's another female lead who just wants to be a hero and be perfect. That's just not as fun.
Yeah, I like her when she's got like a touch of the mercenary about her.
Mm-hmm.
She was really like weirdly cold-blooded in the third game. She just kills people who are like not even a threat to her, like a helicopter pilot.
Yes, guns them down. Helicopter. Because the funny thing is, he looks at her and smiles, and she smiles back, and then she's like,
"Damn, Lara, fucking hell!" Like you could have just pointed the gun at him and told him to leave, and I'm sure he would.
Yeah, she was ruthless.
Here we go. I'm about to make someone's day. Sean O'Hagan says, I'll go to bed happy if I get my name on screen. There you go, Sean.
Yay.
Your name is on screen. We're going to think about you for a few seconds and thank you for sending your message. There you go. All right, where's the next one? JS Pena says, speaking of games, Drinker, has anyone told you that when you do your drunk voice, you sound somewhat similar to the gaming YouTuber Nogla? No one has, actually, so that's a first for me because I don't know who that is.
I don't either. Not
Sorry,
sure.
man. Bullet Shepherd said, great subject for a stream, and what a looker. Melonie is pretty hot too. See what you did there. Stagbeck B says, you must show a live crossover with Duke Nukem. Well, I mean, it would only be right. Renkabot says, Lara was created because Jordan Mechner wouldn't license Prince of Persia. We figured most gamers at the time were dudes, so we made a girl since you would be staring at her rear the entire time. So that's the guy who worked on the game. So
right.
I second that opinion, sir. Fair enough.
Great. It's great.
Multi-topic talk says, best and worst Tomb Raider game for the both of you. And also best and worst Tomb Raider movie for the both of you. Great stream as usual, Drinker. So we've got to pick our worst game.
You know, it's funny because what I consider the worst game isn't a popular worst game. It's a lot of people's favorite, and that's Legend. And the reason why is for gameplay reasons, because I feel like aesthetically it was just beautiful and phenomenal. But if you really try to go back and play that game, it plays itself. It's just it's very easy. It feels like play school Tomb Raider. Like this was the kids can't play the old ones too hard, so let's give them this one. That's what it feels like to me, and that's why I would have to put it as my least favorite.
For me, it's Angel of Darkness. The purely on the basis of the control scheme.
Yeah,
man, those controls were awful.
I have to install mods to try to replay that now because that's brutal. The controls on Angel of Darkness.
Trying to steer Lara is like it's like trying to control a fucking super tanker or something.
It
takes about 10 minutes for your inputs to do anything to her, and I don't know why they made her like that. Because the whole point of Lara is she's supposed to be agile and athletic.
Exactly. And then she like slow walks before she goes to the jog. And it makes it really awkward when you're in a situation where it's like, oh, you got to be quick, and you can't because she slow walks first. And then, yeah, the mods really make it a lot better of an experience these days.
Best game, probably the first or the second for me. Yeah, the first just they absolutely nailed the classic formula. A great storyline, great premise. Lara was just like perfectly cast. I loved her voice actress as well. It's a shame she never did any more games after that because they got a different voice actor in for the second game, and I don't know what it is. Like, you know, she did a great job, but her voice was a lot deeper, and it made her seem a lot older than she was.
Right. Yeah, and they didn't write her as fun in 2 and 3 as they did the first one. The first one, you could tell like she was having a good time. This was her thing. And then in 2 and 3, she definitely was a lot more serious. I also agree that Tomb Raider 1 is the best Tomb Raider for sure.
Yeah, so those would be my picks. In terms of the movies, probably the first Angelina Jolie movie was probably my favorite of the three. And the worst one would be the second Angelina Jolie movie.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I agree.
Read by Nature said, Melonie speaking to the choir regarding Tomb Raider. I love Legacy of Kain, but I'd be skeptical if Critical Drinker ever revisited the series. Oh, okay. I remember playing Legacy of Kain, the second one, back in the day, but like I don't think I played the first Legacy of Kain much, so I don't know, man. Black Sun said, by the way, I'm a pretty crowded town, but any of you fine streamers know any decent elbows? Social distancing has my ribs sore lonely. What the fuck?
I don't get it. Elbows?
I just read it out as I see it. Wayward Culture said, first super chat, love your stuff, Drinker. God bless. Thank you, man. Cluckman Does says, I love the reboot and it made me a fan of the series. The gameplay was a lot of fun for me, and it's one I'll routinely replay. I loved how the games kept it supernatural and not grounded, unlike the film.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I think out of the 3 rebooted games, probably the first one was my favorite, just because it did feel kind of fresh at the time and stuff, and there was definitely a supernatural element to it. Johnnyus said the critical powder. Yeah, that's I'm that pale, unfortunately. Hernando says, I think they made her more serious to distance her from the female version of Nathan Drake, but it was so heavy-handed, even her sarcastic humor is gone.
Well, my problem was that she shouldn't have to change because of Nathan Drake. She was there first. He is, Uncharted was inspired by Tomb Raider, and so Tomb Raider shouldn't have to have changed itself because of that.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, like Tomb Raider was the OG, and it's kind of a shame that they had to take so many gameplay cues from Uncharted, just like the hanging off ledges, the like things crumble underneath you and you got to grab it and the characters panicking and stuff. Like it's
the talking constantly, the having a companion with you, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just goes against a lot of what Tomb Raider was how it was formulated. Because I mean, Lara was always such a loner up until Legend. And yeah, so well, it's like the worst things about Uncharted they put in the new Tomb Raiders, and I just don't. I'm not about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. One thing I was just going to say before we go into the next super chat, I have been drinking quite a bit of alcohol, and I kind of need to use the restroom for more. I was trying to think of a subtle way to put that, but like I can't.
All good.
Yeah, so if I could just have like 1 minute or so, could you possibly just interact with the chat for a minute?
I sure can. I have chat pulled up right here. I will talk with everybody.
Just know I'll cover you if you need to do the same thing. So
all good. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right. Hi, everybody. So what are we talking about right now? No, it was up to AOD with Curtis. So what exactly, what did I miss with context there? What about Curtis? Did you like Curtis Trent? Did you not like Curtis Trent? I actually surprisingly liked Curtis Trent. I typically like Lara being a loner, but then, and even with Curtis, she still was. She like reluctantly worked with Curtis, and definitely didn't want to at first. So it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. Zeal, thank you for the super chat. I feel like I'm on stream right now. This is great. What was that question? Have you played the Tomb Raider 2013 reboot games? I have. They're not my favorite. I do think as games as a whole, they're great, but I just don't they don't have the heart of Tomb Raider in my opinion. Now Shadow gets a little closer when it comes to like some of the tombs and stuff. They did go a little deeper in that, and especially with like the DLC. But ultimately, yeah, it's just not it. Let's see. That macro diet working wonders. God bless. God bless you too. Yes, I'm telling you, up the protein. If you want to get like, if you just want to get whipped into shape, the best thing you can do is just up those animal proteins, man. That's what's up. I notice a huge difference.
Sorry, I came.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the show.
Yay! I mean, this is why I could never be a Twitch streamer, because I would like have to go away halfway in between,
right?
Go for a piss, and I would be borderline incoherent by the end. Right. Okay. Where did I get to? 0 Hour Discussions said, Hail Drinker and Mel, never thought my favorite gamer will be on the best show on YouTube. Hope to see more of Mel talking more movies and in the open bar or Friday Night Tights.
March.
Yeah, you get your Friday Night Tights and open bar, man.
March 25th, Friday Night Tights.
Hey, you're going to be there. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, is that your first time, or have you done it before?
It will be. It will be my first time on there, so I'm stoked.
Nice one. Yeah. Play the High Note said, I remember being 6 years old watching my brother play Tomb Raider 3 and fuck off, stop being so young, and being terrified of it. I knew shit was on when the ambient Temple Ruins theme was playing. Fuck the new games, total garbage. Yeah, no, fuck the new Tomb Raider. I'm OG all the way. Okay.
OG's where it's at. And man, Tomb Raider 3 did have some really scary stuff. Those Shiva statues that come to life, those terrified the heck out of me when I first played. Yeah.
Which one was it in? I think it was Tomb Raider 3 where you go to London and there's a bunch of Geordies with like their Newcastle accents.
Yes, like Sophia and yeah. In London, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, aye man, ship your tractors down the garden. Americans must have been watching that just going, what the fuck is this?
I loved it though. I just loved that. And that is one thing that makes me sad about Tomb Raider being moved to an American studio now, because it's reflected in the game. It just feels like a Hollywood production now. And used to it just felt so authentically British, at least from my perspective as an American. I was just like fascinated by it. So
yeah. I just love the idea of like people from America all over the world, just like hearing these ridiculous like regional British accents and just being like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. Claudia Rogajan says it might just be me, but the first Tomb Raider I turned off after 10 minutes because it bored the crap out of me. Also, Daniel Craig's accent, Jesus. Yeah, so we're talking about the movies here. Yeah, his American accent was pretty spotty. Even as a Brit, I could sort of spot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a pre-Bond Daniel Craig, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know this is a tangent, but like, what did you think of him as James Bond?
You know, I didn't. I've barely watched any James Bond anything. That's what I'm saying. I'm so bad with like movies and pop culture and stuff. Like, I don't know. The little bit I've seen, he seemed cool to me, but I'm not that versed in the James Bond universe, admittedly.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah. I played GoldenEye on N64.
Was that sorry?
I played GoldenEye on N64.
No, we didn't. You know that was a game
that was fun times. It was funny because my brothers and I, we had this thing where one person would be like the referee in a way, and the other two, the rules were you had to be crouched down and you had to slap. You couldn't use any guns. You just had to slap each other and see who'd win. And if somebody pulled out a gun, then the referee with the golden gun would like one shot them. It was fun times.
It was funny because when GoldenEye came out, it was like that one mate that I had who had an N64, he finally had a chance to gloat. You know, because up until that point, like most of us had PlayStations. There was like one poor bastard who had a Sega Saturn, and he was just bad the whole time. And yeah, like this dude who came in late to the game got an N64, and it was like, what's this thing good for? And then he got GoldenEye, and we're like, okay, yeah, this is pretty fucking
GoldenEye, cool. Then Smash Bros, then Perfect Dark. Like it started. Yeah, me and my brothers had PlayStation. Our cousin had the N64. So when we wanted to play like GoldenEye, we had to go at our cousin's place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, like, you know, we were poor as fuck. So like, if I was really lucky, I might get a PlayStation like a couple of years after it came out. Yep. And you know, I had to choose between a PlayStation and a Sega Saturn, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know which one was the way to go, and I just through blind luck chose the PlayStation. Yep. Fuck, I made the best choice.
Yeah,
that's one time in my life where I made good choices.
It's like, yes, you're holding on to that one good time.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, like everything else has been a downward spiral of despair and alcohol abuse, but that was it. I was riding high then. 13-year-old me, yes.
Yeah.
Jocko Strap 2099 says prayers for Ethan Van Skyber and fam. Prayers? Why? Was something bad happened to him? I don't know. Maybe I'm behind the curve on this one. Johannes says, Mel, been following you since I stumbled upon you on Facebook Gaming. Glad to see you becoming part of the fellowship.
Yay, thank you. I'm excited.
Jim said the reason she looks younger than 35 is because when you stop living in fear of the mob, you're more free than you've ever been. Well, there you go.
That's right. That is right.
Probably also having really good genetics and making better life choices helps.
Yeah, it helps. It's nice. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Cannon Folderall said, purity spirals are a hell of a drug. Cheers. Bullet Shepherd said, Lara Croft is a solid character, a woman before the woke. Also, she had something in common with the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Great honkers. There we go.
Amazing.
Nice one, man. Cody Griffin says, I know this is Tomb Raider time, but I just read all the new releases for the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, and I'm sad. Oh, why does everyone keep messing up classics? Well, don't you understand? They have to be updated for the modern era. We obviously talked about that a little bit. I'm going to make a video about it, so bear with me. Renkabot says, we got nothing dollars. That's not true. Um, I'm not sure what that means actually.
Okay.
Did you not get paid? Did you get lots of dollars or none? Wolf Vermilion says, I love the Tomb Raider series. If you would not mind shamelessly plug, I've done the first Beaver vid on don't see somebody fancy look. So I'm trying to read this. Like, sometimes you get a super chat and it's like, this is barely English.
Right.
If you wouldn't mind shameless a plug, I've done the first Beaver vid on Dylan C. If somebody fancies the look, Wolf Vermilion. Okay. I don't know what to do there. Yay. Cody Griffin says the rings of wokeness. Yep, that's what it's going to be. Jim said, so is that what happened to Aunt Jemima? That's the dwarf queen. Andrew Knapp says they fly now. Yeah, they do indeed. Jim says, unless they're pretty strictly following the Silmarillion, spoilers, legally they don't have the rights, then this is fanfic garbage. I think Silmarillion is the only thing they have the rights to, so they don't have the rights to the actual Lord of the Rings story. Poland 805 says, it finally happened. Tomb Raider stream with two of the best. Well, you're half right. I mean, I'm not a fucking Tomb Raider expert by any stretch.
You know your stuff good, though. Way more than the average person.
I mastered the ability to bullshit. And like I know what I'm talking about.
Well, you're good at it. That helps a lot in life. So
no, I mean, to be fair, like, I guess the games that you played as a kid make the impact on you, and that's what it's been like for me. And so it's always a pleasure to talk about these older ones with people who appreciate them. So no, that's always a good thing to do. So I'm just
all good.
Super chats. Wolf's Pain says, I thought the first Tomb Raider reboot game was, but I never finished it. Now I'm glad I didn't. Also, Melonie, have you seen It's a Gundam? What's your thoughts?
Oh, I've seen him around on Twitter a little bit, but I haven't. Other than that, not so much. That just reminds me, I was wanting to watch some of his videos and see what he's about, because it seems like he's got a very awesome and loyal following, and his little jokes are like little snide comment. Like, he'll reply to something and like pretend like he's being mean, but he's not, and it's funny. So I'm like, I got to see what he's about.
He is a really nice guy. I've had him on the open bar stream quite a few times. He's great to talk to. Just a really nice dude. Like, even behind the scenes, like when the cameras are off, like he's still a great guy to talk to. And he kind of covered the G4 TV and Frost stuff as well, and just put like quite a humorous spin on it. So no, nice. He's good fun, really good guy. What's the next one? Izzy P said, all the good shows on Netflix come out of South Korea now. All of Us Are Dead, Sweet Home, and a few others I forget the name of. No Hollywood wokeness in them, just good shows. That is the hallmark of South Korean TV and movies and stuff. Like, they're taking over. Kind of like how manga and anime is just gradually putting comic book.
Right. Yeah. I liked, what was that called? My Name, I think, on Netflix. Also, I believe that was a Korean, like a K-drama. That one was cool. Yeah. And that had a really cool female lead too. Like, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think, when you go to the Far East, like South Korea or Japan or whatever, like they are not bound by like the kind of wokeness that we have over here in the West. And so like they just concentrate on good storytelling.
Yeah.
And like, okay, it's a different culture, but like they still got the fundamentals right there, and it's just fun to watch. Did you watch Squid Game at all?
I did. That, I feel like that hit me so hard, the overall message behind it and everything, because I feel like a lot of people were kind of turned off by it because, it's violent and this and that, and they just think that we're just, I don't know, but it's just the message behind it was so impactful, and they did such a beautiful job with like even the foreshadowing ahead of time, which with each character having an experience that later reflected on how said character died, I don't know how much into spoiler territory you usually get because I don't want to.
Oh, I spoil the shit out of things.
Okay.
Just
Well,
launch into it.
it's just like the one guy who died from falling off the bridge. When you see him at the very beginning, whenever he had that whole thing going on, he jumps off the bridge to escape.
Yeah.
And so then he died by falling off the bridge, and all the meaningful characters died in the same way that they were introduced, and it was I just thought that was brilliant. And I think just the message behind it all, and just showing how people treat each other for wealth, and that being excessively wealthy can to a certain degree can make people just as miserable as being in poverty almost. And so it just had a really strong message. After I was done watching it, I had to just I binge watched it. It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I was like, I gotta sleep. And so I'm trying to sleep, and I just needed another hour to just think of everything that happened. It just really hit me hard. I loved it.
Yeah, like there's an episode in it where the characters have to play marbles against each other.
Yes.
And each of them, like they're in pairs, and one of them has to die. And I think that was probably one of the best episodes of TV I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Gripped by it the whole time. I think it was really poignant and tasteful and well done. And yeah, like the bit where the old guy, says to the main character, like you think he's senile and stuff, like throughout the whole thing, but then he reveals that he actually knew what was going on the whole time. And it's like, you were willing to cheat me out of this,
right?
To keep yourself going. But then he gives him his marble at the end. I was watching that with Mahler, and like I had to be just quiet during that bit. I was like, I'm not going to say anything because damn, I don't trust myself to speak right now.
Right.
Really, like, just brilliant TV.
And what I liked about it too is that you didn't have the Mary Sue characters. You saw flaws in each and every single one of the characters, and the main ones even. And some people get upset that the main character guy, they're like, dude, he got all that money and he still wasn't there for his daughter. And it was just like, that's the point of the whole show, was to say this guy was a deadbeat dad when he was poor, and when he got rich, he was still a deadbeat dad. Like, that just says that money didn't make him a better person. And that was the whole thing of it. And so I feel like people who wanted that happy ending there, and they wanted to see him go and be a good dad and all that kind of stuff, well, that goes against the whole entire message and point of the show.
Yeah, like, I mean, he was a deeply flawed character. And that sort of thing doesn't get erased when you become rich all of a sudden.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's just it's stuff that you have to wrestle with, I suppose, throughout your life. And this was a guy who just been through a horrendous experience to get to where he was at. So it's not necessarily going to make you a better person.
Exactly.
Let's see, what's the next one here? Sorry, I had to just refresh there. Excalibur says, Macro Diet Girl, I thought you were 10 years younger. God has been good to you.
Thank you.
Great work. Cheers, Drinker. Love your content. Yeah, I love that. It's not like, Drinker, you look good too. It's like, nah, I love your content. I know where I'm at. Paul Lajukovic says, Drinker, did you ever watch Alex Cross? I was pleasantly surprised. I never really watched that. I thought that was a kind of YA kind of show. I didn't really think it was for me. Taylor Haha said, please, Drinker, you are the best reviewer on the Tube. I don't know if that's true, but never mind. And we need a thorough Fallout New Vegas review. Hail to you and Melonie. Damn, yeah, Fallout New Vegas. It's most of the Fallout games I've really enjoyed. Fallout New Vegas is no different. Brilliant world building, great characters, really like dark sense of humor as well. Yeah, I'll need to do a proper review at some point. Storyteller Nyland says, we can't embarrass Drinker. He is a real man. Men take notes. Ladies change name to Tatiana. No, go seriously. Nah. Much love, man. Thanks, mate. Very much appreciate it. Deaf Mute Studio said, Drinker, love your review of The Beast. Thank you. Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Any hints to what your next Extra Shots review will be? Maybe The Phantom with Billy Zane? Yeah, I'm still trying to decide because I do the Extra Shots reviews just totally on a whim. Whatever movie I really want to talk about that day. So bear with me. There's a few on my list that I really want to talk about. I just finding the time. But yeah, I don't know exactly right now. Albin Forsberg says, have you seen the Jurassic Park Dominion trailer? If yes, what do you think of it? Yeah, this is what we talked about earlier. You know, we're just going to jangle those shiny objects in front of you. You know, you like the original characters, you like Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler. Yeah, we're just going to fling them into the trailer. I've got very little respect for these Jurassic World movies. I think they're just rehashing the same idea, same concepts as the original. They feel really exploitative. So I'm not buying it. You're not going to get me Jurassic World.
You can't. Yeah, it's just like the original was so good, and you just can't. They can't reach that same level.
Yeah, I was talking with, I think it was either Az or Mahler about this. You know, the original Jurassic Park. It was fun. You know, it had dinosaurs eating people and stuff. Great. But it dealt with some interesting ideas, which I think was, you know, kind of unusual with movies, especially nowadays. But like the characters really debated the morality of what they were doing. It's like we're bringing back these extinct animals.
Yeah.
You know, without having any permission, without having any consequences to it. We're just doing it because we can. Do we have a right to do this? And what the hell is going to result from it? I think that's an interesting idea to explore. I think the first movie did it perfect. I don't think you needed more after that. Bearded says, Drinker, have you seen Akash Singh's comedy special asking to bring back Apu because he's the typical American dream that isn't racist? Also, I approve of the new Missy's. She's a real keeper. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't hold with this idea that we've got recently where, you know, the voiceover actor for Apu from The Simpsons, okay, he's not Indian, so like he shouldn't be allowed to do it. He's an actor. He's just doing a role.
Right.
He doesn't have to fit the ethnicity of it or anything like that. So, yeah, I very much want to bring back Apu as he was. The Spaz from Rain Man says, just a point on girl gamer hatred. Gamers don't hate girl gamers. We like all subcultures, goths, skaters, etc. We hate posers, and we smell them at 40 feet away. Yeah,
yes.
So I think what he's saying is like, yeah, if it's someone who's not authentic, like you can tell.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, there's from my perspective, I don't see any problems with guys want more girls in the gaming space. Like I constantly hear if I just like meet someone random and talk about playing video games. Oh man, I wish I knew more girls gamers and stuff. Like there's not an issue in that department.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember back in the day, like, if you met a girl who was into video games, like in Scotland in the 90s, that was as rare as rocking horse shit, man. Yeah. Like that was something else.
Yeah.
It's obviously more common now, but yeah, like you didn't feel angry about it or you didn't feel threatened about it. It was like, this is fucking cool, man.
It's just like, I feel like people need to reflect sometimes and have some sort of self-awareness. It's like, if people want you out of gaming, maybe it's because of who you are as a person and not what you look like. You know?
So I think there's this thing of like, if people come in with a chip on their shoulder, and they start acting like, yeah, like, you know, I'm a woman and I'm oppressed because of that, and like I can't deal with sexism and gaming. Like you guys all need to be better in order to accommodate me. That's not how it's meant to be.
No, it's not.
You should give as good as you get, and most of the time that's enough to make people back off. Marhausen said, part of why I love classic Lara Croft so much is her rebellious nature, which could be relatable to so many groups of people. Yeah, it very much was for gaming back in the 90s. Even as a male who happens to be gay, her rebellious nature inspires me. I mean, it should, because, yeah, like, I guess she's true to herself and she's not ashamed of who she is. Night King 01 says, I almost fell asleep during the first Tomb Raider Jolie movie. When her and Jorah Mormont are racing up the pyramid, I was done. I felt dumber after. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, that's when it really, the movie started falling off a lot more. I feel like the opening act was the best part. That's when we saw the more like flashy, the flips, the iconic like Lara Croft characteristics, and that was the more fun part. And then there at the end, especially, is when it really fell off.
It was kind of cool to see Angelina Jolie and Jon Voight like reconcile, because like they famously fucking hated each other. Like they estranged for a long time. So that was kind of weird to see it in a movie. Yeah. Also, Daniel Craig's American accent. Just why? Yeah. Fight the Club said, for decades, anime has given the world smart, strong, and aspirational female characters, but wokeheads don't know or don't care. Why do you two suppose that is? Is it just ignorance? Probably, yeah, because it's something they can't control.
Yep.
I think they can't control it and they can't be bothered understanding it.
Yep.
Roberto Persagomo says, did you see the Lord of the Rings TV show preview images? Yes, we shared them muchly. And yeah, they look shite. Bird Up says, one of my favorites during the PlayStation 1 era were the Tenchu games. I'm curious what Drinker and Mallory think of them if you played them. I didn't play Tenchu much myself.
I didn't play them, no. So yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Zeal Libertas gave me a $1. Thanks, man. The Spaz from Rain Man says, headcanon Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Uncharted are all the same universe, just different time periods. India is the 1930s, Lara is the 90s, and Drake is the 2010s. I'd love to see a crossover between Nathan Drake and Lara Croft. That'd be glorious.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on which iteration of Lara, but I feel like classic Lara, that would be a fun rivalry.
That'd be great, yeah. Like having to learn to work together and stuff to solve some ancient like mystery or whatever.
Yeah.
Storyteller Nyland says, you look like you would love Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Melonie.
I probably would. I haven't played any of those. I don't even know how many there are or anything like that. I know very little, but I love vampires. Like, my favorite movie of all time is Underworld with Kate Beckinsale. So I probably would love that.
Kate Beckinsale could have done a Lara Croft, I think.
She really could have. Yeah. Yeah, I think she could have.
She had the physique for sure. What's the next one? Yeah, Dalamagas said, hail Drinker and lovely Miss Mac. Do you read Sutter Kane? Yeah. I can't escape the mouth of madness. Like, Jim says, if Lara isn't quadriplegic acrobatic philosopher who plays a tribal fart yodeling club, then I can't identify with her. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's got to be exactly like you. The Paranormal Soldier said, hey, Drinker, I really liked your review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you're ever in a mood to review another game, I would recommend Bravely Default 2. You'll really like the character of Elvis. It's on Steam and Switch. Nice. I did like Final Fantasy Remake. Yeah, I'm interested to see where they take it, because it gives me the hope that Aerith won't die this time around.
We'll see.
I just can't do that again, man. It destroyed half of my soul back in 1997, and I can't lose the other half right now. So, 0 Hour Discussion says, has Mel watched animes JoJo and Hellsing Ultimate?
I haven't seen Hellsing, but JoJo, it's funny. I just recently started watching that, and I love it. I just love how over the top it is. Whenever he's like, Dio, and he rolls down a hill, I'm like, wow, dramatic. It's amazing.
Fair days. The John Beck says, "Hi Critical and hi Mel. Both of your second channels are great. Thank you."
Thank you.
Paul Cotton says, "I've been watching from the beginning and I know nothing about Tomb Raider." This must be a weird stream for you then. Fascinating to watch people discuss the things they love, including fair criticism. Melonie's enthusiasm is contagious.
Thank
you go. I think that's almost it, actually. The Spaz from Rainman says, speaking of headcanon, Edward James Olmos has said in interviews that he considers Blade Runner to be a sequel to the Battlestar reboot series. Whoa, that's mental. That kind of works, actually. Replicants and stuff, Cylons. I can go there. Night King 01 says, as Ackman once said, when a girl gamer asks you out, F banging and all that stuff, let's play some Halo.
That's amazing.
Yanis Saba says, Drinker Melody, Max Payne, praise it.
You know, it's funny. I never really got into Max Payne. That was, I don't know, for some reason I just didn't.
I played all of them. Like probably the second one was my favorite, but I kind of did like when he goes to like Colombia and he's got like a shaved head and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just remember like with the second one, that was the first game where they introduced the Havoc physics engine, and like it was just incredible, like the ragdoll and physics that you had when you like gun someone down in slow motion. It was so satisfying to watch, man. You guys should review Ed Wood for vampires. Well, he was the king. Bullet Shepherd says, "Is Melonie aware that Ellie is gay?"
Yeah, I played I didn't play the second one just because I don't like how they do my guy Joel like that. But I played the DLC of the first one when they made that. Yeah, then they made that known. It was good. I liked it.
It's become like a running gag on my streams because, like, when I did my review of Last of Us 2, like, in the first hour of that game, Ellie like kisses like a girl so many times, like just on the point that she's really super gay. I just kept like randomly throwing in like Ellie's gay, by the way.
If you didn't know by now.
Yeah, it was like as subtle as a fucking sledgehammer. Rustin says, Uncharted experience was ruined before it was even started. Language was locked to Dutch on my console, and they used the same voice actors as Dora the Explorer. What the fuck? That's all I can think of now. I don't even know what to say to that. That sounds horrific.
Dora needs her own Tomb Raiding game.
Have you seen Reacher yet? No, someone else was just talking about it. Like I was saying, a couple of my mates have seen it and they really liked it. Drinko, will the Game of Thrones universe ever recover from season 8? Nope. It's done. It's busted. It's fucked. You can't unfuck a thing that's been fucked as badly as Game of Thrones.
I've only seen like one episode of Game of Thrones, and I saw like the siblings going at it, and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it was great for like the first 4 seasons, then it started to go downhill, and then season 8 just shut the bed.
Right, that's what I hear.
What's this? From some angles, you look like Dan Bilzerian. What the fuck?
I don't even know who that is. I'm so bad with any type of pop culture or anything. If people are like, "Oh, this,"
Dan's the king of Instagram, but I need a much bigger beard and much bigger muscles to be doing that.
Eat steak.
Yeah, well, I do already. That's the thing. I eat steak and I drink plenty of whiskey. So what can I say?
I mean, yeah, you should be huge by now. I mean, look at that. You don't give yourself enough credit. Come on. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I get there. But yeah, I think that's it. We've made it to the end of our super chat. Congrats, Melonie. We made it, and I don't have to do a super chat catch up. Oh fuck, here we go. Yeah, we always won. God damn it. Tommy Bronze, you should check out Fallout 66 Rum, Nuka-Cola Dark. Yeah, I'm not going to play Fallout 66, that's for sure. But yeah, like I'm always up for a rum, that's for sure. I like my dark spiced rum. Have you ever read Hero with 1,000 Faces? I'm afraid I haven't. No. And to quote another movie, Boba Fett sucks the sweat off a dead man's balls. I don't know what that means, sir, but it sounded negative to me. It pretty much is, yeah. Listen, Melonie, I just want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's been awesome to have you on.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
For everyone in chat, like the link to Melonie's channel is in the description. Please give her a follow. So she does some awesome stuff. She knows more about Tomb Raider than I will ever know. Yeah, and you're on Twitch as well, aren't you? I think
I am. Yeah, I don't stream as often, but like I got a lot of Twitter hot takes. That's where I feel like I'm at the most. And that and my new YouTube channel that I just made. I don't even have a custom URL for it yet because I gotta wait 30 days.
okay.
But it's been fun.
Yeah, and you're going to be on Friday Night Tights. When is it?
Yeah, March 25th.
March 25th. Yeah, so you've got a little bit of time yet. But yeah, catch her there. But yeah, for all you guys that have tuned in tonight, thank you very much. It's been great to have everyone in. Yeah, thank you for all the super chats. It's very much appreciated. Thank you to my lovely team of mods who've done a great job as always. And yeah, for now, I guess that's all we've got for today. So we're going to go away now.